Chapter 405. What's going on? What happened inside? Hearing the earth-shattering explosion from the 5 illusions, many pairs of inquisitive eyes looked towards the snow fairy pond holding the origin jade crystal. They wanted to know what had happened inside. Why is there a crack on the origin jade crystal? What happened inside? Looking at the origin jade crystal with a slight crack in her hand, a trace of shock from the deepest part of her soul occupied her body, causing her mind to go blank. The origin jade crystal cracking was something that had never happened in the Misty Mountains' 100,000 years of history. It could be said that what was happening right now was beyond the knowledge of the Snow Fairy Pond, causing her to be at a loss. Master, what's wrong? What happened inside? Looking at the dumbfounded Snow Fairy Pond, Shui Piaoling felt a strong sense of unease and nervously asked. Snow Fairy Pond took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in her heart as she slowly said, I don't know what happened inside either, but when that explosion came out, the origin jade crystal cracked. What? The origin jade crystal that has been passed down for 100,000 years cracked? Hearing the Snow Fairy Pond's words, everyone present was dumbfounded as if they had seen a ghost. It was as if all of this had happened in a dream. You all wait here for me. I'll go inform the Great Elder. Sensing the severity of the situation, the Snow Fairy Pond hurriedly left the Misty Mountain and went to the only remaining Great Elder of the Misty Mountain, Shui Songqin, to report everything that had happened. The misty stone carving has cracked. Yi Chunfeng, who was in the center of the destructive storm, was quickly deducing the 2 great Tao intents. He was shocked to find that the misty stone carving from the heaven domain had a visible crack because of the chaos divine wood. The misty stone carving cracked and a powerful Tao intent gushed out from the stone tablet, destroying the space and sweeping towards Yi Chunfeng. The Tao intent gushing out from the misty stone carving was extremely terrifying, enough to kill an ordinary emperor-level master. However, after devouring a large amount of energy from the stone carving, the sapling of the Chaos Divine would continuously grew 5-colored divine leaves, and the tree even gave birth to 6 strands of chaotic energy. Under the protection of the chaotic energy released by the Chaos Divine wood, the destructive energy gushing out from the misty stone carving could not pose a threat to Yi Chunfeng. He cleared all distractions and focused on controlling the God-Eater brain to deduce the sword and illusion Tao intents contained within the stone carving. Slowly, veined patterns containing Tao intent appeared in the God-Eater's mind. These veined patterns were the sword Tao pattern and illusion Tao pattern it had deduced. Crack. After another hour, the second crack appeared in the misty stone carvings. A vast amount of energy gushed out from the crack. The powerful energy distorted the space in the 5-layered illusion and attacked the growing chaos divine wood. Of God-Eater brain? The misty stone carving cracked one after another, and the Tao intents contained within became even more chaotic. This greatly affected the God-Eater brain's deduction speed, causing Yi Chunfeng a lot of trouble. Fortunately, the God-Eater brain had completed a transformation, and its deduction ability had increased by more than 10 times. Under its full-speed deduction, it kept carving out clear Tao intent. The origin jade crystal cracked again. Looking at the origin jade crystal in her hand, the Snow Fairy Lake immediately looked at an old woman beside her. She was wearing a plain long dress, and her hair was snow-white. Her slightly sunken eye sockets hid a pair of eyes that had seen the vicissitudes of life, and she was holding a dragon-headed walking stick. This white-haired old woman was the only remaining Great Elder of the Misty Mountain. She was also the Misty Mountain's greatest reliance, the half-step Emperor-level Master, Shui Songqin. Great Elder, can you tell what's happening in the misty stone carving? The Snow Fairy Lake asked respectfully. If I'm not wrong, the misty stone carving should have cracked, and that's why the origin jade crystal cracked, Shui Songqin said solemnly. The misty stone carving cracked. Hearing Shui Songqin's words, everyone's expression changed, and they couldn't help but gasp. Cracked the misty stone carving. How did he do it? Xue Qinglan and Gao Zhongyan looked at each other, and they saw the shock and horror in each other's eyes. How could the misty stone carving, which has been passed down for 100,000 years, crack? The Snow Fairy Lake murmured in a daze. Maybe this is fate, and also a tribulation. Xue Songqin looked at the twisting power that was like spiritual snakes, and the space that was completely chaotic. She fell into deep thought, and only spoke after half an hour. Fate? Tribulation? The Snow Fairy Lake frowned slightly, trying to figure out the meaning of Xue Songqin's words. No egg can remain unbroken when the nest is overturned. Xue Songqin said, when our misty mountain was facing the tribulation, the misty stone carving suddenly cracked. This should be fate. It seems that our misty mountain won't be able to avoid this tribulation. Grand Elder, with the help of Qingfeng, we have already seen through the Western demon sect's scheme. As long as we take precautions, I think that our misty mountain can still survive this tribulation, Xue Piaoling said softly. I originally thought that our misty mountain could survive this tribulation, but now it seems that the misty stone carving's cracking is a sign that a new variable and danger has appeared in this tribulation. Xue Songqin said with a solemn expression, however, the appearance of this young man may change the variables again. Grand Elder, you're saying that Yi Qinfeng will be an important person in our Misty Mountain's tribulation? Xue Piaoling understood the meaning of Xue Songqin's words and said, then Grand Elder, do you think he can pass the Misty Stone Carvings test? I don't know if he can pass the Misty Stone Carvings test, but if he does, it is very likely that he will control the fate of our Misty Mountain, Xue Songqin said with deep meaning. Damn it, how can this be? What is the background of that kid? Hearing Xue Songqin's evaluation of Yi Qinfeng, Gao Zhongyan's heart sank. He was filled with unwillingness and uneasiness. With Yi Qinfeng's current talent and potential, Gao Zhongyan had no doubt that as long as he was given time, Yi Qinfeng could crush him as easily as crushing an ant. Gao Zhongyan would have no chance of revenge. Grand Elder, what should we do now? Gao Zhongyan anxiously asked Xue Qinglan, who had a solemn expression. Wait! Xue Qinglan also didn't expect Yi Qinfeng to be so heaven-defying. Not only did he create miracles, but he also cracked the misty stone carving that had been passed down for 100,000 years and alarmed Xue Songqin. Crack! Just as everyone was waiting with different emotions, a crisp cracking sound was heard again. The origin jade crystal in Xue Xianqing's hand cracked a third time, and then a fourth and a fifth. Oh no, the misty stone carving may break. Everyone, leave the misty illusion quickly to avoid any accidents. Xue Songqin saw more and more cracks on the origin jade crystal in Xue Xianqing's hand. Her expression changed slightly, and she made a prompt decision to lead everyone out of the misty illusion. Just as Xue Songqin and the others were about to escape from the misty illusion, an earth-shattering explosion rang out from the misty illusion. A powerful force directly tore through the misty illusion. It was like a mushroom cloud rising into the sky, blasting away the clouds in a radius of several dozen kilometers. It left behind a black hole in the sky that would not close up for a very long time. For mobile users, please visit Chapter 406. Crack. Although they had expected this, the moment the origin jade crystal shattered, everyone, including Xue Songqin, was stunned. Xue Piaoling couldn't help but worry about Yi Qinfeng's safety when she sensed the terrifying energy in the 9 heavens and saw the misty illusory realm collapsing. Gao Zhongyan gulped when he saw the misty stone engraving shattering and the explosion of destructive energy. He quickly transmitted a message to Xue Qinglan, who had a gloomy expression. Someone is coming out. How can it be? Not only is he not dead, he isn't even injured. What kind of monster is he? When the misty stone engraving shattered, the energy released was extremely terrifying. Even an emperor-level expert would be obliterated, let alone them. Qingfeng, are you all right? Sister Piaoling, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Yi Qinfeng, Did you shatter the misty stone engraving? Shui Xianqi might have confirmed it, but she still asked him in front of everyone. Yi Chenfeng, do you know the significance of the misty stone engraving to our misty mountain? Qingfeng, this is our misty mountain's supreme elder. Shui Piaoling transmitted a message to Yi Chenfeng, informing him of Shui Songqin's identity. Repay? Can you afford it? Gao Zhongyan said with a gloomy expression. Do you know that the misty stone engraving has been passed down for 100,000 years? Now that you have destroyed it, how are you going to repay our misty mountain? Right at this moment, 20 sword Dao patterns burst out from Yi Chenfeng's body and instantly formed an extremely sharp sword light. It tore through the air and cleaved towards Gao Zhongyan at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. Gao Zhongyan only saw the sword light flash in front of him, and his hair stood on end. He sensed the intense threat of death and instinctively wanted to dodge. I hate it when people point their fingers at me. If there is a next time, it won't be as simple as cutting your chest. I will slit your throat and send you to hell to meet your grandson. Yi Chenfeng looked at the pale and trembling Gao Zhongyan and warned him coldly. Gao Zhongyan never thought that Yi Chenfeng would dare to be so arrogant in front of Shui Songqin and the others, even injuring him with a single sword strike. However, Shui Qinglan was more shrewd than him. It was as if she didn't see his pleading eyes. She stood there in silence. No one knew what she was thinking. Shui Piaoling widened her eyes and asked in astonishment after witnessing the 20 sword Dao patterns gushing out from Yi Chenfeng's body. Yes, I was lucky enough to comprehend the second heaven of sword principle, Yi Chenfeng nodded and said humbly. Apart from the sword Dao, the God-Eater brain had also successfully inscribed 21 illusion Dao patterns. As long as he was given enough time, he would be able to comprehend the illusion Dao intent to the second level and greatly increase his foundation strength. Yi Chenfeng, the destruction of the misty stone inscriptions in your hands is a predestined fate. The destruction of the misty stone inscriptions could possibly announce the impending calamity of my misty mountain. Your appearance has caused a trace of opportunity and variable to appear in this calamity. I wonder if you are willing to help my misty mountain survive this calamity? Shui Songqin looked at the unruly Yi Chenfeng with sparkling eyes and asked solemnly, If you are willing, I will not pursue the matter of you destroying the misty stone inscriptions. Good. Shui Songqin revealed a rare smile and said, There are less than 3 months before the ancient Sky City Martial Tournament. You should prepare well. I hope you can obtain the first place for my misty mountain, seize great fortune, and destroy the Western Devil Sex conspiracy. Yes, Senior. Yi Chenfeng nodded heavily and said, This junior will not disappoint you. All right. Shui Songqin nodded and agreed. In these 2 months, my Misty Mountain's cultivation resources will be available for them to use. Yes, Master, I will go and select disciples now. Shui Piaoling nodded and said. As she spoke, the true leader of the Misty Mountain, the half-step combat beast Emperor Shui Songqin held onto her dragon-headed walking stick and brought Yi Chenfeng away from the collapsed Misty Mirage. They headed towards one of the 3 forbidden grounds of the Misty Mountain, the Misty Immortal Pond. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 407. Yi Chenfeng, the Ethereal Immortal Pond, is one of the 3 forbidden grounds of the Ethereal Mountain. It has been passed down for 100,000 years. Every drop of spirit water in the Ethereal Immortal Pond contains an extremely large amount of spirit energy. If you soak in it and cultivate, your cultivation speed will increase by leaps and bounds. Looking at the ethereal immortal pond illuminated by the clouds and feeling the dense spirit energy drifting in the ethereal immortal pond, Yi Chenfeng felt that the soul-devouring art's circulation speed had reached its peak. He couldn't wait to enter and cultivate. Yi Chunfeng couldn't help but take in a deep breath, sucking in all the spiritual energy in the air into his stomach as he said with a refreshed expression, "Senior, please speak." "I'm 100% certain," Yi Chunfeng said confidently. "Don't worry, Senior. Since I dare to boast, I will definitely do it." Yi Chunfeng was full of confidence in his own strength. After Xue Songqin left, Yi Chunfeng leaped up and drew out a beautiful arc in midair before descending to the center of the misty, immortal pool. He immersed himself within the pool as he circulated the soul-devouring technique to absorb the spirit water that was filled with dense spirit energy, and he improved his cultivation while comprehending the illusory Tao insight. "I wonder if I can condense a second spirit pearl with the help of this ethereal immortal pond's spirit water." Once he condensed the spirit pearl in his Yongquan acupoint, the two spirit pearls would complement each other. Yi Chunfeng's physical strength would reach a shocking 2.5 million jin. Just his physical strength alone would be enough to crush a rank 4 defiant beast king. Yi Chunfeng circulated the divine 9 transformations at high speed. A powerful devouring power surged out from the Yongquan acupoint under his feet. It crazily devoured the spirit water in the ethereal immortal pond to condense the second spirit pearl. Slowly, a huge whirlpool appeared around Yi Chunfeng's body. A large amount of spirit water crazily entered his Yongquan acupoint and his body, condensing into a spirit pearl and nurturing primal chaos energy. The dragon egg was an item that stole the essence of heaven and earth. Even the supreme experts of the heaven domain would have a hard time obtaining it. If Yi Chunfeng absorbed the dragon egg's essence when he was trying to break through to the reverse beast king realm, not only would he be able to greatly increase the potential of the two-headed blood dragon king, but he would also be able to strengthen his dragon bloodline and strengthen his body's foundation. This would lay the most solid foundation for his future cultivation. Xue Qinglan's grandson, Xue Tianyang, who was half a step into the defiant beast king realm, took first place without any suspense. After the selection, Xue Piaoling immediately brought Xue Tianyang and the other 4 to the misty immortal pond. He let them enter the immortal pond to cultivate and prepare for the ancient Sky City martial meeting that would be held 2 months later. Under the dual devouring of the 9 transformations and the chaos divine wood, a huge whirlpool appeared in the center of the entire misty immortal pond. The precious spiritual water crazily poured into the Yongquan acupoint at the bottom of Yi Chunfeng's feet, forming the second spiritual bead and nurturing the 10th strand of chaotic force. Xue Tianyang, who was 7 feet tall and wore a dark blue robe with black patterns embroidered on it, spoke angrily as he stared at Yi Chunfeng, who was in the center of the vortex, through the huge vortex with a dim light in his deep eyes. "So no matter how big of a commotion he causes, you can't disturb his cultivation," Xue Piaoling warned solemnly. Because Xue Songqin had given a gag order that forbade them from spreading the news of the Misty Mountains calamity, Xue Tianyang and the others didn't know the danger of the ancient Sky City martial meeting. Xue Shiguang, who was burly and filled with explosive muscles and had hair that stood straight up like steel nails, spoke with a voice like muffled thunder. "Tianyang's strength is indeed not bad, but according to my understanding, the Sword Valley, Ice Palace, Snake Valley, and Flowing Cloud sect all have disciples that have broken through to the realm of King. Especially Sword Valley's Jianchen, who has even broken through to the realm of King. Who has the confidence to beat them? However, they had made the Misty Mountain spend a lot of effort and resources. This ancient Sky City martial meeting is far more complicated than you think. I have a feeling that other than Jianchen, there might be someone else who has broken through to the realm of King. So, put away your arrogance. If you don't give it your all, you might lose your lives in the ancient Sky City martial meeting," Xue Piaoling said solemnly. After devouring enough energy, Yi Chunfeng had successfully cultivated to the second layer of spirit body and condensed a second spiritual pearl in his Yongquan acupoint. His physical strength had reached a shocking 2.5 million jin. Feeling the surging power in his Yongquan acupoint, Yi Chunfeng, who was soaking in the celestial pond, opened his sharp eyes and revealed a faint smile on his handsome face. Originally /BK/HL/30/30709/ mobile reading site. Book address. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the Save button below to record your reading record. Next time you open the bookshelf, you will see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 408. Whoosh! I'm sorry, Sect Master Shui. I was cultivating just now and caused a bit of trouble for you. However, from start to finish, Yi Chunfeng did not look at Shui Tianyang. His arrogant attitude made Shui Tianyang's face turn ashen. Sensing the oppressive aura emitted from Yi Chunfeng's body, Shui Tianyang felt a trace of pressure. He glared at Yi Chunfeng with hostility and was the first to jump into the rippling immortal pond. He started to absorb the immortal water that had a lot less spirit chi and tried to break through to the absolute king realm. On the other hand, the petite Shui Yiqian, who was wearing a black martial robe and had a rosy face and a youthful and lively aura, showed a great interest in Yi Chunfeng. She blinked her big eyes and said sweetly, "Senior Brother Yi, my name is Shui Qian. Nice to meet you." Looking at the doll-like Shui Qian, a faint smile appeared on Yi Chunfeng's face. He took the initiative to shake her hand. However, the moment he held Shui Yiqian's hand, Yi Chunfeng's tempered soul sensed a trace of devil chi sealed within her body. Could it be this Shui Yiqian is related to the Western Devil sect? Yi, Senior Brother Yi, what are you doing? You're hurting me. Qingfeng, what's wrong? Senior Brother Yi, if you don't let go of my hand, I'm going to get angry. Junior Sister Shui, are you afraid? Yi Chunfeng looked at Shui Yiqian with a faint smile and said slowly, Yi Chunfeng, let go of your dirty hand, or else I won't be polite to you. Qingfeng, stop messing around and let go of Yiqian. Seeing Shui Tianyang's angry expression and Shui Yiqian's pained appearance, Shui Piaoling frowned and ordered. The corner of Yi Chunfeng's mouth rose slightly, revealing a thought-provoking smile, as he said with an earth-shattering voice. As soon as Yi Chunfeng finished speaking, the snow fell. Shui Tianyang and the others were all stunned, while the coquettish Shui Yiqian paled slightly. Shui Yiqian struggled to break free from Yi Chunfeng's big hand and threw herself into Shui Tianyang's warm embrace with tears in her eyes. She tightly hugged his body and cried out pitifully. Shui Yiqian was the granddaughter of Misty Mountain's second elder. She usually had a good relationship with Shui Tianyang. When he heard that Yi Chunfeng suspected that she was a spy of the Western Devil sect, Shui Tianyang's face instantly turned gloomy. His deep eyes emitted a thick flame as he furiously roared. Framing? Yi Chunfeng coldly laughed and said, There's a strand of devil chi sealed in her body, and that strand of devil chi is exactly the same as the devil chi of the Western Devil sect's experts. Venomous slander. Shui Yiqian said pitifully, I have no enmity with you. Why do you want to frame me? What good will it do you? Yes, it's absolutely true. Yi Chunfeng nodded and said, Sect Master Shui, if you believe me, you can search her soul. Perhaps there will be an unexpected harvest. Hearing Yi Chunfeng's words, Shui Yiqian's body slightly trembled. She hid her pale face in Shui Tianyang's embrace and said in a lovely voice, This Yi Chunfeng wants to harm me. Brother Tianyang, you must seek justice for me. Qingfeng, this Shui Yiqian is the granddaughter of the second elder. With the power of the second elder, if you really wrongly accuse her, the second elder will definitely not let this matter go. Shui Piaoling's expression was serious as he transmitted his voice. How sure are you that there's something wrong with this Shui Yiqian? Senior Brother Tianyang, why are we still being polite with this brat? Let's capture him first. A powerful force erupted from his body and poured into his bowl-sized fist. An unparalleled fist aura was blasted out as it smashed towards Yi Chunfeng in a domineering manner. Yi Chunfeng immediately reacted to Snowy Rock Light's punch. He quickly took a step forward and crushed the ground beneath his feet. Then, he countered with a punch. The moment the two fists collided, the power of the spirit orb in his Shinmen acupoint exploded. A force of more than 1,000,000 kilograms gushed out from Yi Chunfeng's fist, crushing Snow Rock Light's fist as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, sending him flying with one punch. Xue Shiguang only felt his body tremble as an unimaginable force rushed into his body. He looked up and spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a kite with a broken string, he flew out for 1,000 meters and smashed into the opposite shore of the immortal pond. He couldn't get up for a long time. Fourth watch. Mobile reading home. Book address. To make it easier for you to read next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 409. Sect Master, I am now completely sure that there is something wrong with this kid. 77777772E76F647474772636F6D inch. Sensing that Yi Chunfeng was more powerful than he had imagined, Xue Tianyang did not dare to test him. He looked at Xue Piaoling, who had a serious expression and was struggling with her thoughts, and said loudly, "You all wait for me here. I will go and get the Grand Elder. Before I return, no one is allowed to leave this place. Otherwise, they will be treated as traitors." Xue Piaoling bit her alluring red lips and showed her strong side as she spoke sternly. After speaking, Xue Piaoling condensed her soul wings and turned into a red light as she flew away at an extremely fast speed. She was going to find the Snow Fairy Pond and Xue Songqin personally and report what happened here to them. Once what Yi Chunfeng said was true, it would cause a huge commotion in Misty Mountain. Xue Piaoling had to make preparations in advance to minimize the losses. "Yi Chunfeng, you spy. Your death is coming soon." Xue Tianyang looked at Yi Chunfeng with hostility and said while gnashing his teeth, "If I am a spy, do you think you can still stand here alive?" Yi Chunfeng sneered and said disdainfully, "With your strength, I can kill you like killing chickens." You, Xue Tianyang, and the others were the top geniuses of Misty Mountain. They were usually high and mighty, and had never been humiliated like this. Hearing Yi Chunfeng's arrogant words, their faces turned red and they flew into a rage. However, the scene of Yi Chunfeng sending Xue Shiguang flying with a punch was too shocking. They did not dare to provoke him. "Xue Qian, are you cold? Why is your body shivering?" Yi Chunfeng's sharp eyes noticed that Xue Qian's body was slightly shivering. The corner of his mouth rose slightly as he deliberately said this. "Yi Chunfeng, you despicable person. Just you wait. When my grandfather comes, he will not let you go." Xue Qian, whose face was slightly pale, gritted her teeth as she glared at Yi Chunfeng. She took out a transmission pearl from her universe ring and sent a message to her grandfather, the second elder of Misty Mountain, Xue Sanjiu, asking for help. From the change in Xue Yiqian's trembling body, Yi Chunfeng was basically sure that there was absolutely something wrong with her, so he didn't continue arguing with her. He sat cross-legged on the spot and controlled the God-Eater brain to continue comprehending the illusory Tao insight while waiting for Xue Piaoling and the others to return. About the time it took for an incense stick to burn, several powerful auras appeared and forcefully tore apart the seal outside the misty immortal pond, entering the immortal pond. "Grandfather!" Xue Yiqian immediately struggled out of Xue Tianyang's embrace and ran over when she saw the leader of the group. He wore a dark blue robe with cloud-embroidered patterns, had snow-white hair and a foot-long beard, and had a vicious aura about him. "Qianer, don't cry. Grandpa will uphold justice for you." Xue Sanjiu gently hugged Xue Yiqian in his embrace. As he comforted her, his fierce eyes swept over to Yi Chunfeng, who was sitting cross-legged. When Xue Sanjiu and the others appeared, Yi Chunfeng's soul force immediately erupted and locked onto Xue Sanjiu and the others, wanting to see through their secrets. Yi Chunfeng, how dare you test me? Looks like if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know how powerful I am. Xue Sanjiu's sharp senses sensed the soul force released by Yi Chunfeng and was instantly enraged. A colorful snow spider with 8 blade-like legs appeared on his body. It spat out a large amount of bone-chilling spider silk towards Yi Chunfeng. Yi Chunfeng didn't dodge when he saw the overwhelming amount of spider silk coming towards him. When the dense spider silk got close to him, the black flame heavenly fire surged out of his body and burned the spider silk that the snow spider spat out. Skyfire, you've subdued a skyfire. Feeling the power of the black flame skyfire, Xue Sanjiu and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. Although Xue Sanjiu was a 6th-level defiant beast king, if he encountered a skyfire, he definitely wouldn't be able to subdue it. Not to mention, skyfire was extremely rare. There weren't many in the entire Dohan continent. Grandpa, let's ignore that arrogant guy. I want to leave here, I don't want to see him again. Xue Yiqian looked at Yi Chunfeng, who was enveloped by the black flame skyfire. Her beautiful eyes revealed a trace of fear. She gently shook Xue Sanjiu's arm and pleaded, "Leave." Yi Chunfeng slightly raised the corner of his mouth and said domineeringly, "Before the Grand Elder comes, you can't leave here." After saying that, Yi Chunfeng stepped on the lightning flash and turned into a bolt of lightning, blocking in front of Xue Sanjiu and the others, not giving them a chance to escape. Yi Chunfeng, do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? Xue Sanjiu's eyes flashed with a thick killing intent as he glared at Yi Chunfeng, who was standing in front of him, murderously. Of course you dare to kill me. Yi Chunfeng sneered and said, but you can't kill me. Fine, fine, fine. I'll let you see if I can kill you. Xue Sanjiu was completely enraged. Like an angry lion, he roared and merged with his spiritual beast, the snow spider, in an instant. He raised his strength to the peak and threw a punch at Yi Chunfeng's chest at close range. 5 million jin of strength explode. Xue Sanjiu threw a punch at Yi Chunfeng. The 2 spiritual beads in his Shenmen acupoint and Yongquan acupoint erupted at the same time. The surging power poured into Yi Chunfeng's fist like a gushing tide. Boom! The 2 people's fists collided with each other like 2 meteors colliding, and a thunderous sound erupted. Thump, thump, thump. Xue Sanjiu, who was a level 6 defiant beast king, immediately shattered the 5 million jin of force. The powerful rebounding force caused Yi Chunfeng to lose control of his body. He continuously retreated, leaving behind several deep footprints in the ground. Xue Sanjiu didn't move at all, but his arm felt a bit numb. How is this possible? He's clearly only a level 6 mystic beast ancestor. How can he explode with such terrifying power? Xue Sanjiu's heart was in turmoil. The killing intent in his eyes intensified. Not only was Xue Sanjiu shocked, but Xue Tianyang, Xue Jinyan, and the others were also stunned. They looked at Yi Chunfeng as if he was a monster. A level 6 beast king is indeed terrifying. Yi Chunfeng shook his numb arm and muttered to himself. He felt that only by condensing the 3rd spiritual bead in his Shanzhong acupoint and increasing his physical strength to 7 million jin, or breaking through to the king level would he have the strength to fight a level 6 beast king. Boundless blue clouds / Xue Sanjiu shouted as a heaven-tier long sword appeared in his hand. Streaks of sword silhouettes slashed down towards Yi Chunfeng like jade clouds from the 9 heavens. Wind riding technique. Facing Xue Sanjiu's attack, Yi Chunfeng's entire body turned into a wisp of blue wind. He instantly raised his dodging speed to the peak and dodged the boundless blue clouds / boundless falling shadow / Xue Sanjiu's pupils shrank, and he continued to use his heavenly skill. A huge sword appeared above his head, locking onto Yi Chunfeng and slashing towards him. Sensing that Xue Sanjiu's sword had completely locked onto him, Yi Chunfeng gritted his teeth. He wanted to merge with the two-headed Blood Dragon King and ignite his dragon bloodline to use the 7 swords of judgment to block the attack. Suddenly, a piercing sound of a bell rang out. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were raging in the air. It collided with Xue Sanjiu's boundless falling shadow slash and shattered the sword that had locked onto Yi Chunfeng. In the next moment, Xue Sanjiu, who was holding a dragon-headed staff and had the heavenly treasure Misty Heaven Bell floating above her head, appeared in the misty immortal pond with Xue Piaoling. Originally from /bk/hl/30/30709/ mobile reading website. Book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the bookmark button below to record this book. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 410. Primal Chaos Force, Annihilation. What's wrong, Xue Sanjiu? Can't hold it in anymore? Xue Songqin walked over with a dragon-head walking stick. She looked at Xue Sanjiu, Xue Yiqian, and the others with a serious expression. Seeing Xue Songqin and the others appear, Xue Yiqian fell into a panic. She never would have dreamed that Yi Chunfeng would discover her secret just by shaking hands with him. Grand Elder, what do you mean by that? Xue Sanjiu frowned and looked at Xue Songqin, the strongest person of Misty Mountain and a half-step combat beast emperor. You know very well what I mean. Xue Songqin said with deep meaning. What? Grand Elder would rather believe an outsider than us? Do you suspect that we are spies of the Western Demon Sect? Xue Sanjiu's expression darkened as he said coldly. Xue Sanjiu, you should know that the 3 forbidden areas of Misty Mountain are under my control. When you were about to leave with Xue Yiqian, you were exposed. If Chingfeng really wronged you with your personality, would you let it go? The reason you wanted to leave was because you were afraid. Afraid that you wouldn't be able to leave if I came. Am I wrong? Xue Songqin looked at him with sharp eyes and said slowly. Grand Elder, I really didn't think that I would fall to such a state after toiling for Misty Mountain for my whole life. You are too disappointing. Xue Sanjiu said with a sorrowful face. If Grand Elder doesn't believe me, you can search my soul. At that time, you will know whether or not I am a spy of the Western Demon Sect. Xue Sanjiu, don't worry. If we really wronged you, we will give you an explanation. Xue Songqin frowned and said slowly after seeing Xue Sanjiu's closed eyes and calm appearance. Just as Xue Songqin walked towards Xue Sanjiu and was about to search his soul, Xue Sanjiu suddenly opened his eyes. He appeared beside Xue Tianyang at an extremely fast speed and easily subdued him. He pressed his right hand on Xue Tianyang's head. Xue Sanjiu, you really are spies from the Western Devil Sect. Seeing Xue Sanjiu holding Xue Tianyang hostage while she was unprepared, Xue Songqin revealed a complicated expression. Although she was angry at Xue Sanjiu's betrayal, she was more worried about the fate of Misty Mountain. She had never thought that the Western Devil Sect had already extended their evil claws into the Misty Mountain. If it wasn't for Yi Chunfeng discovering the abnormality and exposing the true faces of Xue Sanjiu, Xue Yiqian, and the others, once the calamity descended, the Misty Mountain would be in even more danger. Cut the crap. If you don't want him to die, then get out of my way. Otherwise I'll kill him first. Xue Sanjiu warned coldly. He was using Xue Tianyang's life to pressure Xue Songqin and the others, creating an opportunity for them to leave. Xue Sanjiu, do you think I will let you leave? An earth-shattering aura suddenly erupted from Xue Songqin's body. She locked onto Xue Sanjiu and said in a deep voice, Xue Songqin, do you want to watch your Misty Mountain's #1 genius die in my hands? Xue Sanjiu increased the strength of his hand and crushed Xue Tianyang's skull bit by bit. Xue Tianyang howled in pain as a large amount of blood flowed out from his head. Grand Elder, please save me. I don't want to die. Facing death, Xue Tianyang was afraid. His legs trembled as he begged loudly. Senior, if you have too many burdens in your heart, why don't you let this junior do it? Anyway, this junior is not a disciple of the Misty Mountain and is not familiar with this Xue Tianyang. Even if he dies because of me, I won't feel guilty. Yi Chunfeng looked at the solemn Xue Songqin and said, Xue Tianyang, Xue Sanjiu, all right then I'll leave them to you. Xue Songqin's turbid eyes met with Yi Chunfeng's and caught a trace of wisdom. She nodded and said, Don't, Grand Elder, you can't leave my life to him. He will kill me. Xue Tianyang heard that Xue Songqin had really left his life to Yi Chunfeng. His 3 souls were scared out of their wit. Swish! Yi Chunfeng's body flickered and appeared in front of Xue Yiqian and the others with extreme speed. Erupting with 5 million jin of strength, he launched an attack at them. Although Xue Sanjiu's lineage didn't lack peerless kings, they didn't have high-level beast kings. Yi Chunfeng's eruption of 5 million jin of strength was enough to crush a level 4 beast king. Moreover, Xue Songqin, Xue Xianqing, and the others were on the side. In merely 10 breaths of time, Xue Yiqian and the others were knocked unconscious by Yi Chunfeng. They fell to the ground, motionless. Seeing Xue Yiqian and the others being knocked unconscious by Yi Chunfeng, Xue Sanjiu was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. The hand holding Xue Tianyang's head was trembling more and more violently. Xue Tianyang was so scared that his soul almost left his body. His face was pale without a trace of blood, and a strong urge to pee appeared between his legs. Now it's your turn. After dealing with Xue Yiqian and the others with lightning speed, Yi Chunfeng looked at Xue Sanjiu and said without a trace of emotion, Yi Chunfeng, calm down. Don't do anything rash. If I die because of you, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Facing death, Xue Tianyang was already scared out of his wits. Xue Songqin, are you really going to sacrifice Xue Tianyang? If he dies with Xue Qinglan's personality, he won't let it go. At that time, your Misty Mountain will truly fall apart. I don't think you want to see that day. Xue Sanjiu also knew that once Xue Tianyang died, he would also be finished. It could be said that his life was tied to Xue Tianyang's. Release Tianyang and I'll let you go. Xue Songqin took a deep breath and said helplessly, Do you think I'll believe your nonsense? Xue Sanjiu said coldly, All of you, scram. As long as I leave Misty Mountain safely, I'll spare his life. Otherwise, I'll take him down with me. Senior, I have a way to kill Xue Sanjiu without harming Xue Tianyang. However, I need your help. At this moment, Yi Chunfeng lowered his voice and transmitted it into Xue Songqin's ears. Really? Xue Songqin's eyes lit up. She sent a sound transmission in shock. How confident are you? If we work well together, I'm 100% confident. However, if we kill Xue Sanjiu, you won't be able to search his soul. It's very likely that you won't be able to see through the Western Devil Sect's true scheme. Yi Chunfeng sent a sound transmission. It's fine. Xue Tianyang's life is more important. If something happens to him, Misty Mountain might really have an even bigger change. Xue Songqin took a deep breath and replied, All right. When he comes over, Senior, use the bell sound to attack his soul. Leave the rest to me. I'll kill him. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and sent a sound transmission. All right. Hearing Yi Chunfeng's confident words, Xue Songqin decided to take a risk. She secretly infused her soul power into the Misty Heaven Bell and waited for an opportunity. Grand Elder, save me! When Xue Sanjiu seized the terrified Xue Tianyang and flew out of Misty Immortal Pond, Xue Tianyang let out a cry of despair. Misty Heaven Bell, attack! At this moment, Xue Songqin, who had been waiting for an opportunity, made her move. A world-shaking bell sound rang out, shaking the 9 heavens, and fiercely bombarded Xue Sanjiu. Not good. Xue Sanjiu didn't expect Xue Songqin to really dare to make a move. He was caught off guard and his soul was attacked. He trembled and his reaction became a bit slower. Go to hell. Primal chaos energy, exterminate. Seizing this fleeting opportunity, Yi Chunfeng flashed and appeared behind Shui Sanjiu. 3 streams of primal chaos energy gushed out from his body and bombarded Shui Sanjiu's head at close range. Bang! Shui Sanjiu's head defense was broken. The 3 streams of primal chaos energy crushed his head like a hot knife through butter and extinguished his soul. Shui Sanjiu, who was a rank 6 reverse beast king, was instantly killed by Yi Chunfeng. Mobile reading site, book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click Save at the bottom to record this book. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 411. The West Demon Sect's True Goal? Chen. Qingfeng, what kind of power did you use? Shui Tianqi, Shui Piaoling, and the others were all shocked after witnessing Yi Chunfeng killing Shui Sanji. They couldn't imagine that Yi Chunfeng, who was only a level 6 Xian Beastmaster, could kill Shui Sanjiu, who was a level 6 reverse beast king, with only 1 attack. This was the first time that they had seen such a shocking scene of killing someone who was a whole realm above them in an instant. That power earlier was one of my trump cards. Yi Chunfeng smiled faintly and said vaguely. Yi Chunfeng, you didn't let me down. Shui Songqin, on the other hand, was much calmer and revealed a loving smile. She looked at Yi Chunfeng, who had surprised her time and time again. Senior, I will leave them to you. I will go back to the ethereal immortal pond to cultivate. Although Yi Chunfeng had killed Shui Sanjiu, he had wasted 3 streams of primal chaos energy. Helplessly, he had to control the chaos divine wood to absorb more primal chaos energy. Alright, go ahead and cultivate. For the next 2 months you can use all the cultivation resources of the ethereal mountain. Shui Songqin nodded and said. After that, Shui Songqin ordered people to take the unconscious Shui Yiqian and the others away. Soon, the ethereal immortal pond became peaceful again. Yi Chunfeng glanced at Shui Xinyue and the others, who looked a bit unnatural. He didn't pay attention to them and jumped to the center of the pond. He continued to control the chaos divine wood to absorb more primal chaos energy. Seeing Yi Chunfeng standing in the center of the pond and stirring the primal chaos energy, Shui Xinyue and Shui Jinyan didn't dare to be presumptuous anymore. The scene of Yi Chunfeng killing Shui Sanjiu had deeply shocked them. They were scared instinctively. If it weren't for the fact that the ethereal immortal pond was too attractive to them, they wouldn't want to stay here and cultivate. Day after day passed. Yi Chunfeng forgot about time and space. He only focused on absorbing primal chaos energy to increase his strength. After 1.5 months of cultivation, Yi Chunfeng's soul power had greatly increased. However, he was still far from becoming a reverse beast king. The Chaos Divine Wood had absorbed enough primal chaos energy to produce 2 streams of primal chaos energy. Now Yi Chunfeng had 8 streams of primal chaos energy. I have enough primal chaos energy. Sensing that absorbing the spiritual water was almost unable to increase his strength and that the Chaos Divine Wood couldn't produce new chaotic force by absorbing the spiritual water for a while, Yi Chunfeng stopped cultivating and took some spiritual water. He left the ethereal immortal pond where the spiritual energy was much thinner and returned to the heavenly snow peak where Shui Piaoling lived. A level 2 heavenly beast immortal. Arriving at the heavenly snow peak, Yi Chunfeng immediately saw Ji Qingxue and Bai Xiao, who were slender and elegant like 2 white butterflies, practicing their moves and cultivating their soul skills in the boundless white snow. He revealed a faint smile and walked over. Cheng Feng. When Ji Qingxue and Bai Xia saw Yi Chen walking towards them, they immediately stopped cultivating and ran towards him happily. Not bad, not bad. Your breakthrough this time has laid a good foundation for cultivation. Here, take this primal chaos energy. Yi Chunfeng gave the primal chaos energy of the celestial immortal pond to Ji Qingxue and Bai Xia. Holding the primal chaos energy of Yi Chunfeng, Bai Xia bit her red lips and asked softly, Qingfeng, can we go with you to the ancient Sky City martial competition? No problem. When the time comes, I'll definitely bring the two of you there. Yi Chunfeng nodded and agreed happily. Thank you. Ji Qingxue and Bai Xia couldn't help but be excited after receiving Yi Chunfeng's guarantee. Qingfeng, you came out of seclusion. I have something to talk to you about. Come with me. Xue Piaoling walked out after sensing Yi Chunfeng's aura on the primal chaos energy of Snow Ice Peak. She was wearing a white silk dress with a white fox fur on her shoulder. Okay. Yi Chunfeng nodded. You two cultivate well. I have something to discuss with Sister Piaoling. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng followed Xue Piaoling to an antique pavilion covered in thick white snow. Sister Piaoling, did you obtain any valuable information from Shui Qian and Bai Xia's souls? Yi Chunfeng asked when he saw Xue Piaoling's worried expression. Sigh, things are far more complicated than we thought. Xue Piaoling gently sighed and said, through Shui Qian and Bai Xia, we were able to catch some spies hiding in our Misty Mountain. I really didn't think that so many people would betray our Misty Mountain and willingly become the Western Devil Sect's minions. Also, the Supreme Elder obtained an important piece of information about the ancient Sky City martial arts competition from Shui Qian's soul. What information? Yi Chunfeng asked. The Western Devil Sect's true goal is not to eradicate the geniuses of our Misty Mountain. Their true goal is probably the ancient Sky City's ancient Sky Palace that hasn't appeared for 10,000 years. Xue Piaoling told Yi Chunfeng an important piece of information. Ancient Sky Palace, what is that place? Yi Chunfeng slightly frowned and curiously asked. The ancient Sky Palace is the most mysterious place in ancient Sky City. It is hidden in the void of the ancient Sky City. No one knows where its entrance is. Only when ancient Sky City's fortune reaches its peak will the entrance appear. 13,000 years ago, the ancient Sky Palace appeared once. At that time, our northern spirit region was at its most prosperous, and our fortune had also reached its peak. But since then, our northern spirit region gradually declined, and the ancient Sky Palace never appeared again. And now, the Sword Valley, Ice Palace, Snake Valley, and Flowing Cloud Sect's younger generation have all produced peerless kings. Although Xue Tianyang suffered a setback, he should be able to break through to the Reverse Beast King realm in the remaining time. Adding you, the ancient Sky City martial arts competition will be unprecedentedly prosperous. It is very likely that the ancient Sky City martial arts competition will erupt with its greatest fortune and once again open the entrance to the ancient Sky Palace. Xue Piaoling continued. Sister Piaoling, what kind of great opportunity is there in the ancient Sky Palace? Yi Chunfeng had a strong interest in the mysterious ancient Sky Palace, and asked. According to our Misty Mountain's ancient records, the ancient Sky Palace contains a multitude of Tao intent inheritances. Many of the northern spirit region's Tao techniques that have been passed down for 10,000 years came from there. Among them, our Misty Mountain's two great Tao techniques also came from the ancient Sky Palace. Xue Piaoling said without hiding anything. Tao intent inheritances. Hearing Xue Piaoling's words, Yi Chunfeng's interest in the ancient Sky Palace grew even stronger. Sigh, the Western Devil Sect's overall strength has already far surpassed our Misty Mountain. If they were to obtain the great opportunity in the ancient Sky Palace and increase their strength, our Misty Mountain would be in an even more dangerous situation. Xue Piaoling sighed lightly and said worriedly, Sister Piaoling, you don't have to worry too much. I believe that the Misty Mountain will definitely be able to survive this calamity. Seeing Xue Piaoling's anxious expression, Yi Chunfeng softly comforted her. Oh right, Sister Piaoling, I need some refining materials. I wonder if you can help me get them? In order to increase his foundation, Yi Chunfeng planned to use the remaining time to repair the 9 Heavens 8 trigrams formation and the 100 crystals primal chaos diagram. No problem, tell me the refining materials you need and I'll find them for you. Shui Piaoling agreed very straightforwardly. The refining materials that Yi Chunfeng needed were rare and precious, but the Misty Mountain was the #1 sect in the northern spirit region, after all, and had a legacy of 100,000 years. In less than 2 hours, Shui Piaoling had gathered all the refining materials that Yi Chunfeng needed and handed them all to him. After obtaining the materials to repair the 2 formation diagrams, Yi Chunfeng immediately went into seclusion in a quiet secret room on the Sky Snow Peak. As he repaired the 2 formation diagrams, he immediately cultivated the illusion Tao intent. In about half a month's time, Yi Chunfeng completely repaired the 2 formation diagrams and immediately imprinted the 21 illusion Tao patterns in the God Eater's brain. He comprehended the illusion Tao intent to the 2nd level. There are still 20 days left. I will try to cultivate the 4th move of the 7 Sword of Judgment, Eclipse. After calculating the time, Yi Chunfeng comprehended the 23 Sword Tao patterns and comprehended the Sword Tao to the 2nd level. He tried to cultivate the 4th move of the 7 Sword of Judgment, Eclipse. Days passed by, and when there were still 3 days before the Ancient Sky City Martial Tournament, Shui Piaoling appeared outside the secret room and woke up Yi Chunfeng, who was completely immersed in comprehending the eclipse. It's almost time. Hearing Shui Piaoling's call, Yi Chunfeng, who had comprehended the eclipse, opened his eyes unwillingly and left the secret room. He brought the 2 girls and followed Shui Piaoling to the Misty Mountain's main peak. They rode the flying snow eagle and headed to Ancient Sky City. The Ancient Sky City Martial Tournament had begun. Mobile reading website. Book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 412. Ancient Sky City. Ancient Sky City was the city with the longest history in the northern spirit region. It was even older than Misty Mountain, which had been passed down for 100,000 years. The city was located at the peak of Ancient Sky Mountain, and it was the place with the densest fate in the entire northern spirit region. Because of the uniqueness of Ancient Sky City, no power dared to claim it as their own. However, in order to compete for the powerful fate in the city, the major powers of the northern spirit region discussed and decided to hold a martial arts competition every 10 years in Ancient Sky City to compete for the great fate accumulated in the city. And Misty Mountain, as the #1 power in Ancient Sky City, had already won the first place in 99 martial arts competitions. We're here. The city built on the peak of the mountain ahead is Ancient Sky City. Several huge snow eagles flew rapidly in the sky for 2 days before arriving at the sky above Ancient Sky City. Yi Chunfeng stood on the snow eagle and looked down at Ancient Sky City. He saw that the entire city was built on the peak of the mountain, like 2 dragon pearls, extremely noble and sacred. What a rich power of providence! Yi Chunfeng's powerful soul felt the dense fate power floating above Ancient Sky City and couldn't help but sigh. Let's go down. Ancient Sky City had a rule passed down for tens of thousands of years. No one was allowed to fly directly into Ancient Sky City. Even Misty Mountain didn't dare to violate this rule. Under Shui Piaoling's command, several snow eagles swooped down towards Ancient Sky Mountain. Tianyang, Xinyue, with your strength, there is no suspense in passing the mountain road and gate leaping test. However, this year's Ancient Sky City Martial Competition is different from the previous ones. You must be extremely careful during the competition, especially Tianyang. Although you have broken through to the King Realm, you must not underestimate your opponent. You must treat each of them seriously, or else you might encounter an accident. Shui Tianqi, who had followed the crowd, looked at Shui Tianyang, who had broken through to the realm of Absolute King, and solemnly warned. Right, old master is right. This martial arts competition in Ancient Sky City is extremely dangerous. You must remember not to be careless. If you really meet an opponent that you can't defeat, immediately admit defeat. Otherwise, you might lose your life. Xue Qinglan, who had also come and was somewhat uneasy, nodded and agreed. Rest assured, old master, grandfather, we will be careful. Xue Tianyang nodded and said, Look, it's the people from Misty Mountain. Hearing the ear-piercing cries of birds in the sky, the experts of the various major powers who were waiting at the mountain gate all looked up at the sky. Many of them even let out cries of surprise. Misty Mountain, you've finally come. A Class 4 defiant beast king wearing a white robe, with a tall and straight figure and a glowing face, revealed a cold smile that was difficult to detect as he muttered to himself. This white-haired old man was the Ice Palace's great elder who had exchanged blows with Yi Chunfeng several times. However, when Yi Chunfeng fought with him, he had been wearing a human skin mask and did not show his true face. Therefore, as long as Yi Chunfeng did not expose his spiritual beast, the double-headed Blood Dragon King, and did not use the 7 swords of judgment, he would not be able to recognize Yi Chunfeng. I'm sorry for the wait, everyone. Because Misty Mountain was the #1 sect in the Northern Spirit region, every Ancient Sky City martial competition was hosted by Misty Mountain. When several huge snow eagles landed at the foot of Ancient Sky Mountain, Xue Piaoling, who had a graceful figure and exuded a noble aura, stood on a huge snow eagle and said slowly, when her deep gaze swept across the Snake Valley and Ice Palace, who were secretly colluding with the Western Demon sect, her brows slightly furrowed. She noticed that the leaders of the Snake Valley and Ice Palace were not the sect masters of the 2 major powers, but the great elders of the 2 major powers. She felt a trace of suspicion. Sect Master Xue, we have also just arrived. An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion, who was a level 6 defiant beast king, wearing a white martial arts suit, said slowly while stroking his long beard. He exuded a powerful sword aura. This white-haired old man was the sect master of the Class 6 Sword Valley, Jianling Daoist. His strength was unfathomable, and his attack power was even more shocking than Xue Tianqi's. Class 2 Defiant Beast King. When Xue Tianyang saw beside Daoist Jianling, there was a young man wearing a white robe. His handsome facial features seemed to have been sculpted. His sharp and deep eyes unconsciously gave people a feeling of extreme danger. Xue Tianyang's expression immediately became abnormally ugly. He had never imagined that the #1 genius of Sword Valley, Jianchen, whom he viewed as his biggest competitor, would actually break through to the Class 2 Defiant Beast King realm. Apart from Jianchen, Sword Valley also had 2 disciples who had reached the half-step Defiant Beast King realm. Although their cultivation was slightly lower than his, Sword Valley was known for their attack power, and Xue Tianyang did not have complete confidence in defeating them. Sword Valley's strength shocked Xue Tianyang and the others. Ice Palace, Snake Valley, Flowing Cloud Sect, and Qian family all had disciples who had broken through to the Absolute King realm, which gave Xue Tianyang and the others a lot of pressure. This was especially true for Ice Palace and Snake Valley, where 2 genius disciples had broken through to the Absolute King realm each. This made Xue Tianyang, who had just broken through to the Absolute King realm and wanted to properly display his strength, feel a great sense of defeat. Could it be that my Misty Mountain will really have to rely on him? Xue Tianyang glanced at Yi Chunfeng from the corner of his eyes. Yi Chunfeng, who had the strength to instantly kill a Class 6 Defiant Beast King, was standing tall and straight with a calm expression. Xue Tianyang's heart was filled with unwillingness. Xue Tianyang was disappointed by the strength of his competitor, but Xue Piaoling revealed a solemn expression. She sighed softly in her heart. Sigh, so many genius disciples of the northern spiritual region have broken through to the Absolute King realm. It seems that this martial competition might really trigger the great luck of Ancient Heaven City and draw out the Ancient Heaven Palace. This year's rules are the same as the previous years. Tomorrow morning, all the disciples of the major powers will start climbing the ancient heaven mountain path. Those who fail to climb the mountain within 2 hours will lose the right to participate in the martial competition. After stabilizing her mind, Shui Piaoling announced loudly. Because there was no absolute proof that Ice Palace, Snake Valley, and West Demon Sect were secretly colluding with each other, and Ice Palace and Snake Valley had only sent their great elder while West Demon Sect was hiding in the dark, Shui Piaoling, who had smelled a trace of abnormality, did not openly shed all pretense of cordiality with Ice Palace and Snake Valley. She placed all her hopes on Yi Qingfeng. Qingfeng, seeing your martial competition opponents, how confident are you in defeating them? After Misty Mountain's group had settled down, Shui Piaoling sat beside him and asked softly. If it is just them, I am 100% confident. However, I keep having a feeling that things are not that simple. Yi Qingfeng sent a voice projection to the Ice Palace and Snake Valley's people as he scanned them with his deep eyes. That's right. The West Demon Sect was able to extend their evil claws into our Misty Mountain and make Shui Sanjiu and the others betray us. They must have made careful arrangements and preparations. However, we don't know what their trump card is. Shui Piaoling nodded and said with a serious tone. If their scheme is really the martial competition or the ancient heaven palace, we don't need to be afraid. What we need to be afraid of is that they have other schemes that we didn't know beforehand. Yi Qingfeng transmitted his voice. Other schemes. Hearing Yi Qingfeng's words, the uneasiness in Shui Piaoling's heart became even more intense. She didn't know why, but she suddenly had a feeling that a calamity was coming. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 413. Mountain Ascension Road. The first rays of the morning sun shone brightly in the east. Drops of crystal-clear dew sparkled under the sunlight. Ancient Sky City Martial Competition Selection, Mountain Ascension Road begins. Shui Piaoling glanced at the golden dawn in the sky and slowly stood up. A powerful sound wave was released from her mouth, echoing through the 9 heavens and lingering for a long time. Qingfeng, do your best. Ji Qingxue and Bai Xia looked at Yi Qingfeng, who slowly stood up. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and he had a heroic spirit. They softly cheered for him. Okay. Yi Qingfeng nodded. Together with Shui Tianyang, Shui Xinyue, and the others, they slowly walked towards the winding ancient heavenly mountain path. Because of Shui Yiqian's betrayal, Misty Mountain had selected another disciple who had comprehended the sword force to the 5th layer and was at the peak of the 5th level of Mystic Beast Master, Shui Feijian. Let's go. We will go through the transportation array and wait for them in Ancient Sky City. After that, Shui Tianqi, Shui Piaoling and the others took Ji Qingxue and the other Misty Mountain disciples through a huge transportation array at the foot of Ancient Sky Mountain and teleported to the outside of Ancient Sky City. 1. The moment Yi Qingfeng stepped onto the mountain path, he immediately felt a powerful spatial pressure pressing down on him. However, Yi Qingfeng had cultivated his spirit body to the 2nd layer transformation, and his physical strength had reached 5 million jin. The spatial pressure produced by the restrictions on the mountain path had no effect on him at all. He leisurely walked up the bluestone stairs and climbed up the ancient heavens mountain that was filled with the vicissitudes of time. Yi Qingfeng climbed up the mountain with ease. Shui Tianyang, Sword Valley, Ice Palace, Snake Valley, Sky Cloud Sect, Qian family and the other top geniuses also didn't feel any pressure and kept increasing their speed. In less than half an incense stick's worth of time, they had left the other disciples far behind and climbed halfway up the mountain. Halfway up the mountain, the spatial pressure in Ancient Sky Mountain had obviously increased. Streaks of white light crisscrossed with each other at an extremely fast speed, forming a huge net that made people despair. Looking at the white net in front of him, the second-level reverse beast King Jianqin made the first move. An ear-piercing sword chime rang out from his body. Boundless sword momentum gushed out and coiled around his body like electric snake. Swish! With a flash, Jianqin turned into an extremely thin streak of light. He was extremely sharp as he slashed out in an unstoppable fashion, cleaving through the white light like he was nothing. He was like a murderous sword, pressing forward with an unstoppable momentum. Perfect sword force. A gleam of light flashed through Yi Chunfeng's eyes when he sensed the perfect sword move erupting from Jianqin's body. I wonder if this person has comprehended the sword Tao. Yi Chunfeng felt that Jianqin was far from simple. It was very likely that perfection was not his limit. It was extremely likely that he had comprehended the way of the sword, which made him feel a sliver of battle intent. The geniuses of the various organizations all charged into the white light and chased after Jianqin as they watched him fly away. Among them, the two kings of the Ice Palace, the tall and sturdy polar glacial sea and the petite ice cloud Tong, attracted Yi Chunfeng's attention. Ice Dao intent. When the streaks of white light struck them, an inscription of the laws of ice appeared on their bodies. It immediately formed an icy barrier around them, blocking the attacks of the white light as they quickly climbed up behind Jianqin. Ice Dao intent. These two from the Ice Palace are clearly stronger than Xue Tianyang and the others. It seems like their plan of using the ancient Heaven City martial competition to eliminate the geniuses of the Misty Mountain was real. Standing halfway up the mountain, Yi Chunfeng, who was intentionally waiting, murmured in his heart. After a dozen breaths of time, the two half-step kings from the Sword Valley, Jianfeng, appeared. The two glanced at Yi Chunfeng, who was standing halfway up the mountain, and did not continue climbing. Then, they charged into the white light without slowing down. Their sword moves intertwined with each other, shattering the white light that was attacking them as they chased after the first group. After Jianfeng and the sword rainbow, Xue Xinyue, Xue Jinyan, and the other geniuses appeared one after another. Although they were all surprised as to why Yi Chunfeng had stopped, they did not slow down and charged into the white light one after another as the time was limited. Wang. The moment the various geniuses charged into the white light, Yi Chunfeng, who was standing halfway up the mountain, released his powerful soul power and hid within the white light. He sensed their situation and saw if there were any experts hiding among them. The white light attacks were too fast. Adding on the fact that the geniuses were too close together, there were people who could not withstand the white light attacks and were injured from time to time. That person, while Yi Chunfeng was observing with his soul, a level 5 mystic beast ancestor disciple of the Ice Palace with a slightly pale face and dim eyes caught Yi Chunfeng's attention. Although his speed of climbing the ancient sky mountain was not fast, his perception was extremely sharp. Using a strange footwork, he moved around in the crowd and completely dodged the white light's attack. Not only him, but there was also another disciple in the Snake Valley who seemed to be hiding his strength on purpose. He was like a spirit snake as he flashed in the crowd. The white light attacks could not hit his body at all. Sensing the abnormality, Yi Chunfeng did not panic. Instead, a spirit light flashed under his feet as he charged into the white light net. He was like a lightning bolt as he moved around, leaving behind many different shadows. Because Yi Chunfeng's speed was too fast, it gave people the illusion that the white light had slowed down. Such a fast speed! Seeing Yi Chunfeng's shocking speed, a lot of the geniuses who had been attacked by the white light were completely stunned. They couldn't understand why Yi Chunfeng purposely waited until the last to attack when he clearly had the strength to charge into the first group. Soon enough, Yi Chunfeng passed through the white light attack area at the waist of the mountain. He purposely followed behind the two Ice Palace and Snake Valley disciples who made him feel suspicious. Just as Yi Chunfeng was enduring the increasing spatial pressure and followed the two to the peak of the mountain, a powerful illusory energy gushed out from the peak of ancient heavenly mountain and flooded into the nearby sect disciples one by one. Illusion Dao Intent. Yi Qinfeng had comprehended 21 illusion Dao patterns and had comprehended the illusion Dao intent to the second layer. The illusion energy gushing out from the peak of the ancient sky mountain could not affect him at all. As for the Ice Palace and Snake Valley disciples that Yi Qinfeng was secretly observing, they were also not affected by the illusion as they climbed the ancient sky mountain at a uniform speed and slowly approached the peak of the ancient sky mountain. Perhaps they are the true trump card of the Western Devil sect. Yi Qinfeng guessed in his heart. When it was close to 2 hours, Yi Qinfeng followed a portion of the sect disciples and passed through the layers of illusions. He climbed to the peak of the ancient sky mountain and saw the ancient and majestic ancient sky city up close. It was filled with great fortune and gave him a great shock. After the mountain path test, there were more than 200 disciples that didn't reach the peak of the ancient sky mountain within the limited time and were eliminated. Jian Chen was the first to reach the peak of the ancient sky mountain without any suspense. His shocking strength had greatly intimidated the disciples of the various major factions. Everyone, take a short break. After 2 hours, everyone can jump over the city gate. However, you only have 15 minutes. If you can't cross the city gate in 15 minutes, you will be eliminated. Xue Piaoling glanced at the calm Yi Qinfeng, Xue Tianyang, and the others and nodded with satisfaction. He condensed a pair of soul wings and flew into the sky as he announced loudly, "Let me see how long you can hide." Yi Qinfeng's deep eyes swept through the crowd. There were 2 extremely inconspicuous Snake Valley and Ice Palace disciples that were emitting a strange aura. He decided that when he jumped over the city gate, he would wait for an opportunity to test their strength. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 4:14. Yi Qinfeng's method, Sister Piaoling. When we were climbing the mountain, I found that there might be some hidden experts among the disciples from the Ice Palace and Snake Valley. Yi Qinfeng slowly walked to Xue Piaoling's side and told her about his discovery. What? Xue Piaoling raised her eyebrows. She quickly looked at him and sent a voice transmission. Qinfeng, are you serious? Yes, I'm afraid that they are the real trump card of the Western Demon sect. They want to kill the Misty Mountain's disciples while we are unprepared. Yi Qinfeng nodded and sent a voice projection. I am preparing to find an opportunity to test them when we jump over the city gates, to see how strong they are. Yes, it would be even better if we can expose them in front of everyone. The worried Xue Piaoling nodded and said. 2 hours passed in a blink of an eye. When the time was up, Yi Qinfeng and the rest walked to the ancient sky city and prepared to jump over the dozens of zhang tall city gate. Only by relying on their own strength to jump into the ancient sky city would they have the qualifications to participate in the martial competition. Buzz buzz buzz. More than 300 participating disciples stood under the city walls that had experienced many vicissitudes of life. The formation patterns and restrictions hovering above ancient sky city quickly condensed, forming a huge light formation above ancient sky city, enveloping the city walls that stretched for dozens of miles. Yes, such a powerful force. The power of the ancient sky formation is more than twice as strong as 10 years ago. Feeling the pressure of the ancient sky formation with tens of thousands of formation runes, Xue Piaoling's expression became more dignified as she said in a low voice. The power of the ancient sky formation changes according to the strength of the participating disciples. It seems that this martial competition has really reached the level of a golden age, which is why the power of the ancient sky formation has increased to such an extent. Xue Tianqi's turbid eyes shot out rays of light as he slowly said, "Whoosh." Standing in the crowd, the calm Jian Chen's pupils suddenly shrank. His body once again emitted an ear-piercing sword cry as a terrifying sword aura gushed out from his body. He was like a world-shaking sword that pierced the sky. The terrifying sword aura caused the sky to change. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Following closely behind Jianchen, the Ice Palace, Snake Valley, Flowing Cloud Sect, Qian family, Shui Tianyang, and other peerless kings all leapt into the air. They did not condense any soul wings, preparing to withstand the baptism of the ancient heavenly formation with their own strength and cross the several dozen-meter-tall city gate. Rumble. As Jian Chun and the others rose into the air, the ancient heavenly formation was activated. The endless power of the inscriptions turned into bolts of lightning, striking Jian Chen and the others with shocking destructive power. Perfect sword force break. Jian Chen, who was at the very front, was struck by the bolts of lightning. His complete sword force quickly gathered, condensing into a sword of light. It tore through everything, cutting through the bolts of lightning. Whereas Ice Palace, Extreme Arctic Sea, Bing Yuntong, Snake Valley, Mangseng, and the others also used their own methods to attack the heavenly lightning, wanting to tear it apart and enter Ancient Sky City. However, Ancient Sky City was extremely powerful this time, and Jian Chen's group had purposely concealed their strength, so they didn't rush into Ancient Sky City in one go. While Jian Chen and the others were attacking together, a large amount of heavenly lightning surged out of the ancient heavenly formation, wantonly bombarding Jian Chen and the others. Seeing the power of the ancient heavenly formation, many disciples who were lucky enough to pass the mountain road trial became pale. There were even more disciples who were frightened by the terrifying heavenly lightning, their legs trembling. What great power! Yi Chenfeng's pupils shrank. He felt that with the power of the ancient heavenly formation, it would be good if 10% of the disciples could cross the city walls. However, the more powerful the ancient heavenly formation was, the more likely it was to test the true strength of the two hidden enemies. Wind riding technique. Yi Chenfeng's body moved like a hurricane, facing the heavenly lightning that fell from the sky. Relying on his absolute strength, he withstood the violent bombardment of the heavenly lightning. God-Eater Brain, deduce the inscriptions. While Yi Chenfeng was being attacked by the heavenly lightning, the power of the God-Eater Brain radiated out, quickly deducing the inscriptions one after another, trying to control the ancient heavenly formation to attack the two hidden enemies. Look, that person is relying on his body to withstand the heavenly lightning's attack. Fuck, is that a human's body? That person is not a monster, right? This year's Ancient Sky City Martial Meeting is really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. There are too many masters. I wonder who will take first place. Seeing Yi Chenfeng withstanding the heavenly lightning's attack by relying on his physical strength, many people were deeply shocked and began to discuss. Bathing in the heavenly lightning, Jian Chen's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He looked at Yi Chenfeng from the corner of his eyes. Perfect sword aura, tearing heavenly lightning. While he was hesitating, Jian Chen was swallowed by a large amount of heavenly lightning. Being attacked by dozens of heavenly lightning at the same time, he fiercely took a breath. His perfect sword aura continuously inhaled and exhaled. The terrifying attack power shattered the heavenly lightning and forcibly tore a huge gap in the dense heavenly lightning. His body slightly flashed, and he was the first to cross the dozens of Zhanghai city walls and entered Ancient Sky City. He passed. Jianchen is the first to enter Ancient Sky City. This Jianchen is definitely the strongest competitor for first place in this martial meeting. Seeing Jian Chen tear apart the heavenly lightning and be the first to enter Ancient Sky City, the Sword Valley's master, Jian Ling, stroked his long beard and revealed a satisfied smile. After Jian Chen, the Ice Palace, Snake Valley, Sky Cloud Sect, and Qian family's peerless kings all used their strength and used their powerful soul skills to tear apart the snake-like heavenly lightning, creating openings and entering Ancient Sky City. Yi Chunfeng, who was being attacked by a large amount of heavenly lightning, only symbolically struggled and moved extremely slowly. Under the heavenly lightning's attack, the God-Eater brain's calculation speed reached its peak. The heavenly lightning's power has weakened, let's go. The heavenly lightning's attack was not limitless. After a round of fierce attacks, the heavenly lightning's power began to decrease. At this moment, the disciples of the big sects who had been waiting for an opportunity all jumped into the air and used all of their abilities. They wanted to use this opportunity to cross the dozens of Zhang city walls and enter ancient Sky City. They're here. Yi Chunfeng's powerful soul sensed two hidden enemies flying over. He immediately controlled the God-Eater brain to forcefully change the formation's pattern, instantly increasing the ancient sky formation's power. Rumble! A series of deafening explosions resounded in the ancient sky formation. Under the God-Eater brain's forceful change, the ancient sky formation violently trembled. Bolts of heavenly lightning as thick as water buckets struck down at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. The profound beast sect's disciples who were trying their best to leap into the air were so scared that their faces turned ashen when they saw the violent lightning surging down from the sky. Their eyes revealed despair. Even the two Ice Palace and Snake Valley disciples, who were hiding their strength in the crowd, were surprised. They were surprised as to why the ancient sky formation suddenly went crazy. God-Eater brain changed the attack trajectory. Seeing the heavenly lightning falling, the God-Eater brain's power erupted again. Relying on its powerful calculation ability, it forcefully changed the attack trajectory of the heavenly lightning and bombarded the Ice Palace and Snake Valley disciples. Not good. The Ice Palace and Snake Valley disciples' faces changed. They did not have time to think about why the heavenly lightning suddenly changed its attack trajectory. They used all of their abilities to block. Unfortunately, the power of this wave of heavenly lightning was too terrifying. The Ice Palace and Snake Valley disciples of the profound beast ancestor realm couldn't withstand it at all. Seeing them being swallowed by the heavenly lightning, the two disciples who were hiding their strength in the crowd had no choice but to release the seal on their bodies. They instantly erupted with their true strength and used the Ice Palace and Snake Valley's inherited Tao skills to smash the heavenly lightning. As expected, the two of them were hiding their strength. Their true strength is that of a rank 2 defiant beast king. The moment the two attacked, Yi Chunfeng's powerful soul sensed their true strength. The corner of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a trace of a cold smile. There's really something wrong with those two. Piaoling Snow and Xue Tianqi glanced at each other and saw the seriousness and anger in each other's eyes. Not only Piaoling Snow, but Xue Tianqi also sensed their strength. The Sword Valley, Sky Cloud Martial School, and Qian Clan also sensed their strength. They all showed an expression of disbelief and started to doubt their identities. Yi Chunfeng's goal was achieved. He used the God-Eater brain too much and felt a bit dizzy. He didn't waste any more time and used the wind-riding spell again. His body that was filled with powerful energy suddenly accelerated, tearing apart the heavenly lightning that was much thinner. He and Xue Xinyue crossed the hundreds of meters high city wall and entered the ancient Sky City that was filled with strong luck. Reading site, book address. In order to make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click the bookmark button at the bottom to record this book. Next time you open the bookshelf, you will be able to read it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 415. Jade Water Fairy Tune Bing Qinchuan, Mang Hanch. Are these two disciples of your Ice Palace and Snake Valley? Xue Tianqi's face was gloomy, and the corner of her eyes twitched as she tried her best to control her emotions. She looked at Bing Qinchuan and Mang Hanch with a sharp gaze and questioned coldly. That's right. Do you have a problem with that? Bing Qinchuan's face was ashen as he replied in a low voice. Not even in his dreams would he have thought that the hidden card he had carefully planted would be exposed so quickly. However, Thinking that he still had a hidden card that had yet to be discovered, Bing Qingchuan's angry heart calmed down a bit. With your Ice Palace and Snake Valley's foundation, can you really cultivate so many absolute king-level genius disciples? Xue Tianqi said without any trace of politeness, intentionally raising the doubts of the Sword Valley and Sky Cloud sect. Xue Tianqi, if I'm not wrong, that person who resisted the lightning with his physical body isn't you, right? Bing Qingchuan asked coldly. Bing Qingchuan knew the situation of Misty Mountain like the back of his hand through the spies he had planted there. He had long since realized that Yi Chunfeng wasn't a disciple of Misty Mountain. Qingfeng is the last disciple of the Great Elder, Xue Tianqi said coldly. What a coincidence! That disciple just now is also the last disciple of my Ice Palace's Great Elder. Bing Qingchuan faintly smiled as he looked at the gloomy Xue Tianqi and purposely said, "What a coincidence! Mang Feng is also the last disciple of my Snake Valley's Great Elder." Mang Hanch said with a smile. Seeing the three arguing, Daoist Jianling and the others felt that something was wrong. Their gazes towards the three were filled with suspicion. Good. I hope you guys can have the last laugh in the battle later. Thinking about how Yi Chunfeng had instantly killed a rank 6 Beast King, Xue Tianqi suppressed the anger in her heart and stopped arguing with them. Because she knew that in a situation where there was no evidence, if she were to expose the true intentions of the Ice Palace and Snake Valley, it would very likely backfire and make the situation even more complicated. The only thing she could do now was to beat them at their own game and place her hopes on Yi Chunfeng. She hoped that he would be able to crush the Western Devil Sect's great scheme in the most powerful manner possible. The time for an incense stick to burn passed quickly. Once the time was up, the ancient heavenly array that shrouded the void disappeared, and the chaotic void returned to its calm state. After going through the trial of the ancient heavenly array, the vast majority of the disciples were blocked outside the walls of ancient Sky City and were reduced to spectators. Only 28 disciples relied on their own strength to enter ancient Sky City and obtain the qualifications to participate in the final martial meeting. Among them, all 6 disciples from the Misty Mountain had qualified for the martial competition. 5 disciples from the Sword Valley and Ice Palace had qualified for the martial competition. 4 from the Snake Valley, 3 from the Qian family and Sky Cloud Martial School, 1 from the Lu family, and 1 from the Hellion family. As for the rest of the disciples who came to participate in the ancient Sky City martial meeting, they were all annihilated. Let's go, let's enter the city. Xue Piaoling coldly glanced at Bing Qingchuan, Mang Hanch, and the others. He led the Misty Mountain group through the slowly opening ancient Sky City gate and walked into the oldest city in the northern spirit region, ancient Sky City. Xue Tianqi, Xue Piaoling, I'll let you be happy for a while longer. Soon, you'll be crying. Looking at the backs of Xue Tianqi and the others, Bing Qingchuan and Mang Hanch's faces instantly darkened. Their eyes flashed with a cold light that made people shudder. As the location of the Northern Spirit Region martial meeting, ancient Sky City had already built a battle stage and a spectator stand. As the experts and disciples of the major forces took their seats, Xue Piaoling immediately hosted the drawing of lots to determine the opponents and the number of matches. After the drawing of lots, Yi Chunfeng was lucky enough to draw Snake Valley's 6th-grade mystic beast ancestor Mang Qinglu, the 6th to fight. Misty Mountain's head disciple, Xue Qinglan's grandson Xue Tianyang drew Ice Palace's 5th-grade mystic beast sect disciple, Song Bingshan, who had an unfamiliar face and jet-black hair covering his eyes. He looked like a harmless Ice Palace's 5th-grade mystic beast sect disciple, and was the 4th to fight. Except for Yi Chunfeng and Xue Tianyang, who drew Ice Palace's and Snake Valley's disciples, Xue Feijian, who replaced Xue Yiqian to participate in the martial meeting, was unlucky enough to draw Ice Palace's absolute king, Bing Tianhai. After the drawing of lots, Xue Piaoling, who had condensed his soul wings, slowly flew to the martial arts arena. He announced in a deep voice, "This martial arts competition will be a single round-robin elimination competition. The top 4 will be determined and the round-robin competition will begin. In order to reduce unnecessary casualties and not weaken the overall strength of the Northern Spirit region, killing is strictly prohibited during the martial meeting. Otherwise, you'll be disqualified." Shui Piaoling's words immediately triggered the protests of Ice Palace and Snake Valley. "Shui Piaoling, the rules of the ancient Sky City martial meeting have been passed down since ancient times. How can you change it just because you say so? The ancient rules didn't restrict killing. What right do you have to restrict it? Don't tell me you don't have confidence in your Misty Mountain disciples?" Bing Qingchuan directly called Shui Piaoling's name and pointed at him without any trace of politeness. "Sect Lord Shui, I also don't recommend casually changing the rules of the martial meeting that have been passed down since ancient times. If killing is restricted, it may affect the excitement of the martial meeting. It's more likely that it will affect the outcome of the martial meeting. It's better to follow the ancient rules." Sword Valley's Valley Master Jianling, who didn't know the situation, slowly said, "Alright, then the martial meeting will follow the ancient rules. However, I'll say the ugly words first. If anyone intentionally kills their opponent during the martial meeting, don't blame me for being impolite." Shui Piaoling saw that the highly respected Taoist Jianling also didn't agree to change the martial meeting's rules. He helplessly sighed in his heart and coldly warned. "Humph." Bing Qingchuan coldly snorted. Although he didn't refute, his eyes revealed disdain. "Alright, I'll now announce that the ancient Sky City martial meeting will now begin. Disciples who have drawn lot number 4, please come onto the stage to compete." Whoosh 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 whoosh, 4 ear-piercing sounds broke through the air. 4 outstanding young geniuses of the Northern Spirit region jumped onto the stage. The opponents for the first round were Rank 1 Reverse Beast King Bing Yuntong against Qian Family's Rank 5 Mystic Beast Sex Qian Hao. Sword Valley's Half-Step Reverse Beast King Jian Feng against Lu Family's Rank 6 Mystic Beast Sex LV Yunqi. "Tianyang, you must pay attention to Bing Yuntong. I'm afraid she'll be a strong opponent for you." Because Shui Tianyang's first opponent wasn't strong, Shui Qinglan wasn't worried about him. Looking at Bing Yuntong, who was wearing a white martial Dao suit and had a tall figure with long green hair casually draped over her shoulders, Shui Qinglan softly exhorted, "Don't worry, grandfather. I'll be careful." Shui Tianyang revealed a trace of seriousness as he nodded and said, "Sword Valley's half-step reverse beast King Jian Feng also can't be underestimated. With his strength, if he was placed in the previous martial meeting, he would at least have the qualifications to reach the top 4. Shui Tianqi slowly said with a serious expression. After witnessing the overall strength of this ancient Sky City martial meeting, Shui Tianyang and the others' confidence was greatly damaged. Their lofty ambitions had long since disappeared. "Begin." 2 layers of defensive light barriers rose around the stage. The first round of the martial meeting had begun. Bing Yuntong's universe ring flashed and a harp inlaid with hundreds of sparkling and translucent gems appeared in her hand. As her slender fingers gently moved, a strange sound of the harp resounded, causing the air in front of her to violently tremble. The terrifying sound of the harp was like a magnificent army with thousands of men and horses. It carried a chilling aura as it bombarded Qian Hao, whose complexion greatly changed. He quickly merged with his spiritual beast and put all his strength into defense. Poof! Qian Hao's defense was broken and a large amount of blood sprayed out from his mouth. His entire body was like a kite with a broken string as he smashed through a layer of defensive light barrier and directly fell out of the stage, losing the match. The moment Bing Yuntong won, the power of destiny floating in the void crazily rushed over and entered her body, forming a faintly discernible half-layered spire. This is the Tower of Destiny condensed from the power of destiny. Looking at the spire that appeared above Bing Yuntong's head, Yi Chunfeng's eyes lit up. He had a strong interest in ancient Sky City's power of destiny. Fusing with a large amount of power of destiny would be extremely beneficial to Yi Chunfeng's path of cultivation. Could this be the Dao skill Jade Water Immortal Melody? This Dao song has not been played for tens of thousands of years. I didn't expect it to appear in Bing Yuntong's hands. Hearing the strange sound from the harp, Daoist Jianling, who was at the heavenly snow lake, revealed an astonished expression. He was shocked by Bing Yuntong's cultivation talent. Just as everyone was shocked, Jian Feng, who had an astonishing offensive power, smashed LV Yunqi's defense with lightning speed and heavily injured him. He won the first round of the martial meeting and attracted a lot of power of destiny into his body. However, Jian Feng's strength was slightly inferior to Bing Yuntong's, so the Tower of Destiny he condensed was 1/3 smaller than Bing Yuntong's. Mobile reading website, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the save button at the bottom to record this reading. Next time you open the bookshelf, you will see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 416. It's too fast. In less than 10 breaths of time, the first 2 rounds have already ended. It's not that it's fast, it's just that the difference in strength is too great. Especially that Bing Yuntong. I wonder if Sword Valley's Jian Chun or Misty Mountains' Shui Tianyang can defeat her. Jian Chun might be able to, but Shui Tianyang probably won't. Didn't you see how the Misty Mountains disciples' expressions changed when they heard the zither music? Seeing Bing Yuntong instantly defeat her opponent, the entire stands were filled with exclamations and discussions. Tianyang, it's your turn. If you have the chance, kill that Ice Valley disciple and show them the power of our Misty Mountain. Shui Qinglan patted Shui Tianyang's shoulder and instructed him in a deep voice. Don't worry, Grandpa, he's dead for sure. Shui Tianyang's lips curled into a cold smile as he replied with killing intent. Whoosh! With an ear-piercing sound, Shui Tianyang jumped down from the high viewing platform. Like an unsheathed sharp sword, he cut through the sky and landed on the martial stage with his most powerful posture. Holding a low-grade heaven-tier-long sword, he pointed it at the Ice Palace's 5th-level profound beast sect expert, Bing Tsongshan, who was slowly walking over without any expression. You're courting death. Let's start the slaughter with him. Seeing that Shui Tianyang dared to point his sword at Song Bingshan, Bing Qingchuan sneered, as if he could already foresee Shui Tianyang's tragic fate. While Shui Tianyang and Song Bingshan were on the stage, Mang Sen, who had intentionally concealed his strength but was exposed by Yi Chunfeng's ancient heavenly formation, appeared on the stage. His opponent was the number 2 genius of the Flowing Cloud sect, Lu Fei, a level 6 mystic beast sect disciple. Seeing Mang Sen's cold expression, Lu Fei, who had already learned of his true strength from his family's experts, revealed a bitter smile. Although he was confident in his own strength, he still felt powerless against a level 2 reverse beast king. He felt fear from the bottom of his heart. I admit defeat. Sensing the killing intent in Mang Sen's eyes, Lu Fei felt even more fear. Helplessly, he clenched his teeth and admitted defeat. Trash. Mang Sen disdainfully glanced at Lu Fei, whose face was flushed red from shame. He coldly mocked Lu Fei before turning around and leaping down from the arena, returning to the spectator stands. Stop looking, it's our turn. Shui Tianyang used the tip of his sword to point at the Ice Palace's disciple, Bing Tsongshan, who was dressed in linen robes and had his head lowered. He looked like he was not a threat at all. Trash really talks too much nonsense. Song Bingshan slowly raised his head, revealing his eyes hidden behind his hair. He looked at the arrogant Shui Tianyang and coldly said, "What bright eyes!" The instant Shui Tianyang saw Song Bingshan's eyes, he couldn't help but reveal a look of shock. He was shocked by the star-like bright eyes and the sharpness in them, momentarily forgetting to retort. Begin. Following Shui Piaoling's command, the match between Shui Tianyang and Azure Ice Mountain began. Through Tsang Bingshan's eyes, Shui Tianyang felt that he was a little strange. He decisively merged with his spiritual beast and increased his own strength, executing the Misty Mountain's inherited heaven skills to attack. Boundless sword art, boundless jade clouds break. Shui Tianyang's strength increased to the peak, and he leaped up high. The heaven artifact long sword in his hand shone with an endless radiance. He slashed out a sword light that broke through the jade clouds, slashing towards the motionless Azure Ice Mountain like a hot knife through butter. Seeing that Azure Ice Mountain was about to be hit by the boundless jade clouds break, he gently took a step forward and transformed into a shadow that strangely dodged the boundless jade clouds break's attack. This is the Shadow Dao intent. Looking at the instant Azure Ice Mountain's shadow intertwined, Shui Tianchan, Daoist Jianling, and the others who were experienced and shrewd, felt a huge wave in their hearts. They couldn't imagine that Azure Ice Mountain, who was only a level 5 mystic beast ancestor, had actually comprehended a Dao intent. Could it be that this person is also from the Western Devil sect and intentionally concealed his strength? Thinking of this, Shui Qinglan's forehead broke out in cold sweat, and a trace of uneasiness arose in his heart. If Azure Ice Mountain had comprehended the Shadow Dao intent to an extremely high level, then he was practically invincible. With Shui Qinglan's strength that had just broken through to the reverse Beast King realm, wanting to kill him was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Boundless Shadow Fall / Shui Qinglan's pupils constricted as he looked at Azure Ice Mountain, who had a strange movement technique. He continued to use the boundless sword technique to attack. A long sword tail, like a sunset, descended from the sky and slashed towards him at an astonishing speed. Chi! A slight crack appeared on the incomparably hard battle arena under the attack of the boundless shadow fall / Azure Ice Mountain once again relied on his strange movement technique to dodge Shui Qinglan's attack. Boundless Storm. The boundless sword technique that Shui Tianyang used was continuously dodged by Azure Ice Mountain. Shui Tianyang's face was extremely gloomy as he continued to use the boundless sword technique to attack. Streaks of sharp sword light spurted out of his body like streaks of electromagnetic light that penetrated layers of space and swept towards him. The entire space was also in chaos under the boundless storm's attack. Trash will always be trash. With your strength, you are actually the #1 disciple of the Misty Mountain. What a joke. Looking at the dense boundless storm that was attacking him, Azure Ice Mountain revealed a mocking expression. For the first time, he attacked with a palm strike towards the boundless storm seal. The terrifying palm strike shattered layers of air and ruthlessly collided with the dense sword shadows like a meteor. Rumble! An ear-piercing shattering sound was heard. The moment the two great soul skills collided, the boundless storm seal was continuously shattered like glass. What? Shui Tianyang's eyes widened in disbelief when he saw how a casual palm strike from Azure Ice Mountain was able to destroy his boundless berserk storm. Could he be a peerless king? An uneasy thought flashed through Shui Tianyang's mind and his face turned pale. At this moment, Azure Ice Mountain's body moved again. Like an erratic ghost, he intertwined with several shadows and strangely disappeared in front of Shui Tianyang's eyes. When he appeared again, Shui Tianyang felt an intense sense of danger behind him. He was shocked and hurriedly dodged. However, in the instant he dodged, an unimaginable force ruthlessly bombarded his back. The crisp sound of bones breaking rang out. Shui Tianyang's spine was directly shattered by Azure Ice Mountain's terrifying attack. A large amount of blood and fragments of his internal organs sprayed out from his mouth. Tianyang, quickly admit defeat. Seeing Shui Tianyang heavily injured by Azure Ice Mountain's palm strike, Shui Qinglan's expression changed greatly. He immediately stood up and shouted in panic. Admit defeat? I'm afraid he won't have the chance to do so. Azure Ice Mountain revealed a strange smile. He attacked again. Like a shadow, he appeared in front of Xue Tianyang and pressed a finger filled with powerful strength towards his forehead. Xue Tianyang was scared out of his wits when Azure Ice Mountain's finger pointed at him. He desperately tried to dodge. However, Song Bingshan's finger attack was too fast. It transformed into a series of afterimages, and in the blink of an eye, it landed on his forehead. Pooh! The defense on his forehead was instantly shattered. The terrifying finger light directly penetrated his head and crushed his soul. Bang! A bright red flower bloomed. Xue Tianyang's head was exploded by Azure Ice Mountain's finger. Xue Piamiao's #1 disciple, Xue Tianyang, had died in battle. For mobile users, please visit Chapter 417. Tianyang. Seeing the death of his grandson, Xue Qinglan's eyes turned blood-red. Murderous intent exploded from his body. He was like an angry lion, roaring at the sky, wanting to tear Grey Ice Mountain to pieces to avenge Xue Tianyang. Sensing the anger in Xue Qinglan's eyes, Grey Ice Mountain remained calm. He did not panic at all as he endured the power of Providence. Soon, a complete Tower of Providence was formed. What's wrong? Xue Qinglan, you can't afford to lose. Bing Qingchuan slowly stood up. Looking at the furious Xue Qinglan, he bluntly criticized. Bing Qingchuan, believe it or not, I will annihilate all of you. Xue Qinglan exuded a suffocating aura. He glared at Bing Qingchuan, a level 4 reverse beast king, with murderous intent. Misty Mountain is so arrogant. If you lose, you want to annihilate my ice palace. I have never seen such a domineering force. Do you really think you can do whatever you want and control the life and death of all the sects in the northern spiritual region? Bing Qingchuan sneered coldly, pointing out Xue Qinglan's faulty wording. He pinned a big hat on him. Hearing Bing Qingchuan's counterattack, Xue Qinglan was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Qinglan, calm down. Don't fall into his trap. Xue Tianqi knew that once Xue Qinglan attacked, Misty Mountain would become the target of everyone. They would be in danger. He quickly comforted Xue Qinglan, who was on the verge of going berserk, to calm him down. Bing Qingchuan, your Ice Palace disciples are obviously stronger than Tianyang, but you purposely tried to kill him. If everyone is as vicious as you, what's the point of this fight meet? Xue Piaoling said with a gloomy face. Purposely tried to kill him? What a big accusation. Bing Qingchuan sneered. Grey Ice Mountain is only a level 5 profound beast grandmaster, while Xue Tianyang is an absolute king. With such a big difference in strength, how could he purposely try to kill him? Shouldn't you find a good excuse for your pestering? That's enough, Sect Master Xue. We're here for the martial arts competition, not to watch your Misty Mountain quarrel. Mang Hanch revealed a cold and sinister smile. He slowly stood up and ridiculed, if you're not as skilled as others, then so be it. If my Snake Valley disciples were to die, then they wouldn't be chattering endlessly like you lot. Good. Bing Qingchuan, Mang Hanch, very good. With a gloomy face, Xue Tianqi, who was trying his best to suppress his emotions, slowly stood up and said, the martial arts competition will continue. Daoist Jianling, the Qian clan's clan head, and the others sensed that something was amiss as they looked at the three opposing forces. Qingfeng, kill all the disciples of the Ice Palace and Snake Valley. Show no mercy. Xue Tianqi sent a voice transmission to Yi Chunfeng, who was beside him. He said sinisterly, kill all the disciples of these two factions. When we return to the ethereal mountain, I will satisfy whatever you want. All right, leave them to me. Yi Chunfeng nodded calmly. With a leap, he directly jumped from the spectator's stand to the arena, waiting for his opponent. Kingolf, that kid is not simple. The strength of his physical body is terrifying. You must not be careless. Try your best to kill him. If you can't, use poison. Mang Hanch looked at Yi Chunfeng, who was standing upright and exuding a domineering aura. He thought of the scene where Yi Chunfeng used his physical body to withstand the heavenly thunder. He solemnly sent a voice transmission to Mang Hanch. "Don't worry, Grand Elder. He will definitely die." Mang Qinglv revealed a confident smile. She summoned a strange snake with a pair of wings on its back that emitted a dazzling golden light. Stepping on its wide back, she flew to the arena. A mutated spiritual beast. This Mang Qinglv's spiritual beast has probably reached the level of a Grade 1 Reverse Beast King. When did the Snake Valley disciples become so powerful? Feeling the terror of Mang Qinglv's spiritual beast, the entire spectator stand was in an uproar. Hearing the discussions around her, the smile on Mang Qinglv's face deepened. She stuck out her scarlet tongue and licked her lip. She looked coldly at the arrogant Yi Chunfeng, waiting for the competition to begin. Buzz. Just as Yi Chunfeng and Mang Qinglv were quarreling, an ear-piercing sword cry resounded through the 9 heavens. The number 1 disciple of the Sword Valley, Jianchen, stepped on a heaven-tier longsword and flew to the arena with incomparable sharpness. Jianchen, I didn't expect to compete with him at the same time. In this ancient sky city martial competition, only 2 people had aroused Yi Chunfeng's interest. One of them was Bing Tsongshan, who had just defeated Xue Tianyang. The other was Jianchen. As for the other 2, Mang Feng and Bing Ziji, who had deliberately concealed their strength and were actually Grade 2 Reverse Beast Kings, Yi Chunfeng didn't take them to heart. With Yi Chunfeng's current strength and foundation, it would only take a few minutes to kill them. Jianchen's opponent was Bing Minji, an expert of the 6th class of the Ice Palace. Apart from practicing the legacy of the Ice Palace's soul mantra and soul skills, he had also inherited the legacy of an expert who practiced the way of joyous union. In order to cultivate and increase his strength, Bing Minji had ravaged many young and beautiful women, enjoying their beautiful bodies while cultivating the path of joy. Originally, Bing Minji wanted to properly display his strength in this ancient sky city martial competition, but he didn't expect that his first opponent would be Jianchen, who was one of the favorites to win the competition. His entire heart sank, and he prepared to symbolically block a few moves from Jianchen before admitting defeat. Begin. Following Xue Piaoling's order, the 5th and 6th rounds began. Xiao. Jianchen's 8 evil sword slashed through the void, and an extremely thin sword ray pierced through the void, piercing towards Bing Minji's throat at a speed several times faster than the speed of light. Not good. Bing Minji didn't expect Jianchen's sword to be so fast, exceeding his reaction speed. He wanted to dodge, but it was already too late, so he desperately tried to block. However, the difference in strength was too great, and Bing Minji's energy was pierced through like a hot knife through butter by Jianchen. Blood splattered as Bing Minji's throat was pierced through by Jianchen's sword. The sword aura from the 8 Evils' sword crushed his head and soul, killing him on the spot. The next moment, the surging power of Providence surged from all directions like a stream, entering his body and condensing the Tower of Providence. Too strong, this Jianchen is too strong. Bing Minji, a level 6 mystic beast ancestor who specializes in the path of yin and yang, was actually killed by him in one move. After witnessing Jianchen instantly kill Bing Minji, almost everyone was convinced by his strength. Crack. This Jianchen actually dared to kill my Ice Palace's disciple. Seeing Bing Minji's corpse with his throat pierced and his head crushed, Bing Qingchuan's face paled, and his eyes spat out flames of anger. Bing Tsongshan's joy from killing Xue Tianyang instantly vanished. Bing Minji was different from Bing Tsongshan and the others. He was a genius that the Ice Palace had spent a lot of effort to nurture, and he represented the future of the Ice Palace. His death was a great blow to the Ice Palace. Just as everyone was shocked by Jianchen's strength, Yi Chunfeng made his move. Boom! Yi Chunfeng took a step forward, and a muffled sound of thunder came from under his feet. The powerful force was like an army galloping, causing the extremely hard arena to shake violently. What? Feeling the powerful pressure from Yi Chenfeng's body, Mang Qinglu suddenly felt a sense of suffocation. His dark green eyes instantly widened, and he quickly merged with his spiritual beast to increase his strength. As his strength increased, Yi Chenfeng's leaning body suddenly turned into an afterimage, and he instantly appeared in front of him. The power of the spiritual bead in his Shinmen meridian exploded, and he threw a punch at Mang Qinglu's chest. Triple Snake Seal. Feeling the terrifying power of Yi Chenfeng's punch, Mang Qinglu's hands quickly twisted, and like a triple snake seal, they overlapped and fused with energy to block. However, when the triple snake seal collided with Yi Chenfeng's fist that had been compressed to the limit, it shattered like glass. Yi Chenfeng's fist did not lose any of its momentum after shattering the three-layered snake seal with a single punch. His fist landed heavily on Mang Qinglu's chest, shattering the top-grade Earth-tier armor on his body and sending him flying into the air. Pung! When Mang Qinglu's out-of-control body slammed into the energy barrier outside the arena, the violent fist force exploded his body into minced meat that filled the air and scattered on the ground. Mang Qinglu, a top genius of the Snake Valley, who was close to becoming a king, was blown apart by Yi Chenfeng's punch, and he died. For mobile users, please visit Chapter 418. Qingfeng, well done. When Xue Qinglan saw Yi Chenfeng explode Mang Qinglu with a single punch, he couldn't help but roar loudly, venting the anger and pain in his heart. Xue Piaoling, Xue Tianqi, and the others smiled as well. They immediately looked at Mang Hanch, who was extremely gloomy and had a chilling light in his eyes. God damn it, where did that kid come from? How can he erupt with such terrifying power in an instant? Was he hiding his strength as well? Mang Hanch stared furiously at the calm Yi Chenfeng, who was currently absorbing the power of fate. He gritted his teeth as the fury in his eyes seemed to want to melt him. Is this the power of fate? Yi Chenfeng felt a strange power appear in his body as he sensed the power of fate flowing in from all directions. It fused with his flames of life, and a tiny spire of fate appeared above his head. Look, that person has also condensed a spire of fate in the first battle. He's actually a peak genius as well. Strength determined the strength of one's fate. Seeing the looming spire of fate above Yi Chenfeng's head that was exactly the same as Jian Chen's, cries rang out from the stands once again. I never thought I'd run into two interesting fellows here. Dressed in a hemp robe, Song Bingshan's eyes were covered by his jet-black hair. He revealed a devilish smile as he looked at Yi Chenfeng and Jian Chen like he was looking at prey. Intense killing intent filled his heart. This is only the beginning. After fusing with a large amount of power of fate, Yi Chenfeng opened his eyes and met Mang Hanch's cold gaze. He said in a domineering manner, which made Mang Hanch so angry that his face turned green. Mang Hanch took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. Gnashing his teeth, he promised, I'll reward whoever manages to kill that brat with a low-grade heaven artifact in a moment. Don't worry, Grand Elder. If I see him again, I'll definitely snap his neck. Mang Sha Tian, the eldest disciple of the Snake Valley and a rank 1 defiant beast king, said coldly as he looked at Yi Chenfeng's back. Yi Chenfeng and Jian Chen both insta-killed their respective opponent. The ancient Sky City martial meet continued. Because of the continuous deaths in the previous rounds, the entire martial arena's atmosphere became oppressive. Old Snow Sect Master, what happened between you and the Ice Palace and the Snake Valley? Why did you become mortal enemies? Sensing that something was amiss, the Sword Valley Master Daoist Jianling, who had smelled something unusual, lowered his voice to a whisper and transmitted it into the ears of Xue Tianqi, who had a solemn expression, asking for the reason. Sword Valley Master, I can tell you the reason, but please don't make it public so as to not alert the enemy and cause new changes. Xue Tianqi hesitated for a moment before sending a voice transmission. Hearing Xue Tianqi's words, Daoist Jianling frowned and sent a voice transmission. All right, I promise to keep it a secret. Sword Valley Master, You should be very clear about the conflict between my Misty Mountain and the Western Demon sect. Xue Tianqi sent a mental message. As for this ice palace, the Snake Valley has long since colluded with the Western Demon sect. They want to eliminate my Misty Mountain's genius disciples in this world martial competition and shake my Misty Mountain's foundation. What? Hearing Xue Tianqi's words, Daoist Jianling's heart was in turmoil. His calm expression changed slightly as he hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Xue Tianqi. Old Sect Master Xue, does your Misty Mountain have any evidence to prove that they are colluding with the Western Devil sect? I know. If we had evidence, we would have already exposed their true colors in front of everyone. Xue Tianqi lightly sighed and said, also, we suspect that the Western Demon sect has another plot, and that is the ancient Heaven Palace. With the overall strength of this world martial meet, it is very likely that they will trigger the greatest destiny of ancient Sky City and open the entrance to the ancient Heaven Palace. This is also the reason why they are hiding so many experts. Hearing Xue Tianqi's words, Daoist Jianling subconsciously believed that all of this might be true. Although his Sword Valley did not want to be involved in the conflict between the Western Demon sect and the Misty Mountain, he was clear that once the Western Demon sect and the Misty Mountain had a large-scale conflict, his Sword Valley would not be able to protect itself. Old Snow Sect Master, why don't our two sects work together and take control of the Ice Palace and Snake Valley first? We can then force the Western Demon sect to reveal their next plot. Daoist Jianling pondered for a moment and suggested, Sword Valley Master, I'm afraid things are not as simple as you think. The two sect masters of the Ice Palace and Snake Valley have yet to appear. Bing Qingchuan and Manghanch are also fearless. They must have something to rely on. If we act blindly, it is very likely that it will lead to new changes. Xue Tianqi sent a voice transmission and suggested, Old Snow Sect Master, should we tell this to the Qian family and the Flowing Cloud sect and fight against the Ice Palace and Snake Valley together? Daoist Jianling took a deep breath and said, no need for now. I'm not sure if those two sects are also colluding with the Western Demon sect. Moreover, the Ice Palace and Snake Valley are also not sure if we know about their plot. If Sword Valley Master is willing to help us, then my Misty Mountain's disciple Yi Chunfeng and your Sword Valley's Jian Chen's strength will be enough to fight against the Ice Palace and Snake Valley's genius disciples. Xue Tianqi shook her head and said, if she had not witnessed the scene of Jian Chen instantly killing the Ice Palace's disciple, she would not have taken the risk to tell the truth to Daoist Jianling. All right, my Sword Valley will help you. Daoist Jianling nodded and replied worriedly. The cruel competition continued. Because Snow Flying Sword admitted defeat immediately, there were no more casualties among the geniuses of the various sections. However, the intensity of the competition was far greater than the previous competitions. It caused the fortune energy in the sky above ancient Sky City to surge violently. After a morning of intense competition, the 14 disciples who had entered the second round were all selected. All the Reverse Beast King disciples from the various sects had entered the second round. Among them, only 3 of the Misty Mountain's 6 disciples were left, and only 2 of the Sword Valley's disciples were left. The Ice Palace's 4 disciples were left, and the Snake Valley's 3 disciples were left. The Qian family and the Flowing Cloud sect only had 1 Reverse Beast King disciple left. Almost all the disciples who had entered the second round were Reverse Beast Kings. This had never happened before in the history of the ancient Sky City martial competition. After the first round, the disciples of the various sects who had entered the second round once again drew lots. After drawing lots, Yi Chunfeng drew lot number 6, and his opponent was the Ice Palace's disciple of unknown origin, Bing Ziki, who was a level 2 Reverse Beast King. Yi Chunfeng drew lot number 2, and the second disciple of the Misty Mountain, Xue Xinyue, drew lot number 2. Her opponent was the extremely talented Bing Yuntong, who had played the Jade Water Fairy melody. Xue Jinyan drew lot number 5, and his opponent was the Qian family's King Qian Wuxin. Jian Chen drew lot number 1, and his opponent was the first disciple of the Snake Valley, Mang Sha Tian. The mysterious Bing Songshan, who had killed Xue Tianyang with one finger and whose strength was unfathomable, drew lot number 4, and his opponent was the Snake Valley's disciple, Mang Sr. When the competition starts, I will definitely smash your head and dig out your heart. Bing Ziqi's face was slightly pale, and his body was emitting a cold aura. He looked at Yi Chunfeng full of battle intent, and coldly provoked him. Your head must have been squashed by a door. Yi Chunfeng coldly glanced at him, and ignored his provocation. Under his burning gaze, he returned to the stands with Xue Xinyue and Xue Jinyan, and waited for the afternoon competition to begin. For mobile users, please visit Chapter 419. Xinyue Jinyan, although you two are quite talented, you are still far from Bing Yuntong and Qian Wuxin. If you can't do it, just surrender in the afternoon to avoid any accident. Xue Piaoling looked at the two geniuses that Misty Mountain had spent a lot of resources on and sighed. After witnessing the rise of the major powers, Xue Piaoling finally realized that the younger generation of Misty Mountain had been left far behind. The flowers in the greenhouse can't withstand the wind and rain. If Misty Mountain can survive this, we have to change. Xue Piaoling decided. Sect leader, I don't want to give up. Xue Xinyue bit her red lips and said unwillingly. She was wearing a green martial arts suit. Her skin was as white as snow, her waist was as thin as silk, and her teeth were as white as pearls. Xinyue Tianyang is already in trouble. You can't let anything happen to you. Otherwise, the foundation of Misty Mountain will be shaken. Xue Piaoling said seriously. But Xue Xinyue felt that if she gave up without a fight, her martial heart would be shaken, and her path of cultivation would be affected. Xue Xinyue, if you really want to fight against Bing Yuntong, then I can help you. She won't be able to kill you. Yi Chunfeng slowly spoke, while looking at the unresigned Xue Xinyue. Really? Xue Xinyue's eyes lit up. She raised her head and looked at Yi Chunfeng. Even if she lost to Bing Yuntong, she wanted to lose fair and square. Not only could she train herself, but she could also protect her martial heart. Yes, but I can only save your life. I can't help you defeat her. Yi Chunfeng nodded and said. Please help me, senior brother Yi. Xue Xinyue said gratefully. She changed the way she called Yi Chunfeng. This is a Blood King pellet. It can give you the strength of a rank 1 reverse beast king for a short period of time. However, the side effect of this Blood King pellet is great. Once the effect wears off, you will be weak for a long time. Yi Chunfeng said as he took out a blood-red, Longan-sized, heaven-level soul pill from his Qiankuan ring. Qingfeng, our Misty Mountain, also has heaven-class soul pellets that can increase one's cultivation in a short time. However, the gap between Xinyue and Bing Yuntong is too big. One pellet is not enough to save her life, Xue Piaoling said. I know. Other than this Blood King pill, I have another treasure for her. After that, Yi Chunfeng took off the Heavenly Thunder battle suit, which was a middle-grade heaven item, and handed it to Xue Xinyue. This is a mid-grade heaven-tier battle armor. Feeling the power of the Heavenly Thunder battle suit, Xue Xinyue widely opened her eyes. She was pleasantly surprised. Yes, I'll lend you this Heavenly Lightning battle armor. Wear this Heavenly Lightning battle armor, and take the Blood King pill. That Bing Yuntong won't be able to kill you. Yi Chunfeng nodded and said. Thank you, senior brother Yi. Xue Xinyue took the Heavenly Lightning battle armor, and thanked him from the bottom of her heart. She regretted her hostility towards him. Xue Jinyan, do you want to fight Qian Wuxin face to face? After giving the Heavenly Lightning battle armor to Xue Jinyan, Yi Chunfeng looked at Xue Jinyan and asked. Yes, I do. Xue Jinyan nodded heavily. I only have one middle-grade heaven-tier battle armor. However, I can lend you a low-grade one. As he spoke, Yi Chenfeng took out the Blood Demon's battle armor, a low-grade heaven artifact, and handed it to Xue Jinyan along with a Blood Grand pellet. "Thank you, Senior Brother Yi. I won't let you down." Looking at the Blood Demon battle armor, Xue Jinyan was overjoyed and said excitedly, "Chenfeng, I didn't expect you to be so rich." Looking at Yi Chenfeng's generosity, Xue Piaoling couldn't help but sigh. Even with Misty Mountain's super status in the northern spiritual region, they didn't have a middle-grade heaven-tier battle armor. "Chenfeng, you have to be very careful when you fight Bing Ziki in the afternoon. I have a feeling that Bing Ziki is not simple." Xue Tianqi warned him seriously. Yi Chenfeng was Misty Mountain's last hope. He couldn't let anything happen to him. Otherwise, Misty Mountain would suffer a heavy blow. "Don't worry, Senior. I won't be careless." Yi Chenfeng nodded and sat cross-legged beside the two girls. He silently adjusted his breath and waited for the afternoon battle to begin. Time flew by quickly. After more than 4 hours of rest, the afternoon competition began. In order to increase the viewing value of the battle, the afternoon battle would be a single battle. 1. An ear-piercing sword cry resounded. Jian Chen, who was wearing a white martial robe and emitting a sharp aura, leaped into the air. He drew an incomparably sharp sword shadow in the air and landed on the martial arena. "Jian Chen, let me see if your reputation as the #1 genius of Sword Valley is undeserved." The moment Jian Chen appeared on the martial arena, Meng Sha Tian, who had a tall and sturdy figure and long dark green hair, jumped onto the martial arena with a halberd in his hand and said in an overbearing manner, "3 moves. If you can withstand 3 of my moves and not die, then consider it my loss." Jian Chen looked at Meng Sha Tian indifferently and said in an overbearing manner. As soon as Jian Chen's voice fell, the entire stands let out a cry of surprise. Especially the side of Sword Valley, their enthusiasm was completely ignited by Jian Chen's overbearing manner. "Jian Chen, I will definitely make you pay for what you said." Meng Sha Tian didn't expect Jian Chen to be so arrogant. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Like a poisonous snake, he stared at Jian Chen and gnashed his teeth. The murderous intent in his eyes made people shudder. "Withstand 3 of my moves and then talk big." The corner of Jian Chen's mouth rose slightly, revealing a trace of coldness. The aura on his body suddenly erupted like a volcanic eruption. He was like an unsheathed sword, extremely sharp. The terrifying sword aura made the sky change color. Feeling the sharp aura emitted by Jian Chen, all the hair on Meng Sha Tian's body stood up uncontrollably. He smelled a strong sense of danger. Whirlwind clouds. When the battle began, the perfect sword aura gushed out of Jian Chen's body, creating a sharp sword wind that swept towards Meng Sha Tian. Heavenly Python Halberd Slash. The sword shadow came like a storm. Meng Sha Tian did not hesitate to merge with his spiritual beast. While increasing his strength, he held the halberd in his hand and chopped down heavily. The halberd shadow, full of powerful strength and soul power, turned into a coiling snake and blasted into the sword wind. He wanted to rely on the attack power to forcibly tear the sword wind apart. Break. The 2 soul skills collided. The sword wind, like a whirlwind, tore the python heavenly halberd slash. The terrible sword power made a large number of sword marks in the air, which was extremely spectacular. Not good. Meng Sha Tian had never thought that Jian Chen's attack would be so terrifying, directly tearing his halberd apart. He changed his attack decisively, and the heavy halberd quickly danced around like a group of snakes, blocking the sword wind attacks that were like a whirlwind. The second move, Blood Splashing Sword. When Meng Sha Tian tried his best to resolve the sword wind, Jian Chen performed the second move. His whole body and the 8 fierce sword in his hand merged into one, turning into an extremely thin sword light. The sword shadow tore the air and stabbed at Meng Sha Tian, who was waving the halberd with all his strength. "Go to hell." Feeling that Jian Chen's sword was full of a strong aura of death, Mang Sha Tian's potential was completely stimulated. He held the halberd tightly with both hands, and the billowing soul power was integrated into the halberd. He hacked at Jian Chen with the power to tear mountains and rivers. Whoosh! With an ear-piercing sound, Jian Chen's attack speed suddenly soared. The sword's shadow condensed by the perfect sword aura flew out. Before the halberd could strike, it pierced through Mang Sha Tian's defense and penetrated his forehead. Bang! Mang Sha Tian's head exploded, and his body fell heavily to the ground with blood spurting out. In just 2 moves, Jian Chen killed Mang Sha Tian, a top genius of the Snake region, who was a level 1 Beast King. Mobile users can visit Chapter 420. Jian Chen, you've gone too far. My Snake Valley and your Sword Valley have never interfered with each other. Why did you kill Mang Sha Tian? Does your Sword Valley want to become enemies with my Snake Valley? Mang Sha Tian was the future pillar of the Serpent Valley, so his death would have a great impact on the valley. Mang Hanch felt his heart bleed when he saw Mang Sha Tian lying in a pool of blood. He roared at the arrogant Jian Chen furiously. You're not as good as others. If you die, then you die. Jian Chen, who was fusing with the power of fortune, opened his eyes and coldly glanced at Mang Hanch, who was on the verge of going berserk. Well said. Xue Qinglan, who was burning with anger, finally found a chance to fight back. He stood up and said loudly, I remember that someone just said that if his Snake Valley disciple died, he wouldn't talk endlessly and wouldn't let it go. How could he take his words as nonsense now? This really shows that bitches are pretentious. Hearing Jian Chen's cold answer and Xue Qinglan's counterattack, Mang Hanch was about to explode. His old face turned from white to green, from green to purple, and from purple to black. Hanch, calm down. Looking at the furious Mang Hanch, Bing Qingchuan immediately said with an ugly expression, let them be arrogant for a while. They'll cry sooner or later. Alright. Thinking about the Western demon sex plan, Mang Hanch couldn't help but hold back his anger. He angrily sat back down and gasped for breath. Yuntong, it's your turn. If Xue Xinyue doesn't admit defeat, use the limited time you have to kill her with all your strength. Continue to deal a heavy blow to the Misty Mountain. Bing Qingchuan said to the tall Bing Yuntong, who gave off a unique aura. Her expression didn't change at all. Don't worry, First Elder. She's dead for sure. After she finished speaking, Bing Yuntong slowly stood up. Her slender legs suddenly exerted strength, and like a fluttering white butterfly, she gracefully landed on the stage. Xinyue, don't feel burdened. If you can't win, just admit defeat. Don't try to be brave. Xue Tianqi said. Even if I lose, I will make her pay a certain price. Xue Xinyue took a deep breath and swallowed the blood King Dan that Yi Chunfeng had given her. All of a sudden, a huge amount of blood qi filled her body, increasing her power rapidly. When she felt that she had the strength of a level 1 defiant beast king for a short period of time, she leaped into the air, leaving behind afterimages as she landed on the arena. Looking at the 2 goddess-like beauties with stunning appearances and enchanting figures, many disciples were captivated by their beauty and cheered loudly. The atmosphere was unprecedentedly lively. Let me see if the Jade Water Immortal Melody is as powerful as the legends say. Xue Xinyue was full of fighting spirit. Bing Yuntong was holding a harp with both hands. Her face was expressionless. Bing Yuntong took out a low-grade heaven item long sword and waited for the match to start. With Xue Piaoling's order, the second round began. Bing Yuntong's slender fingers quickly stroked the strings of the harp. The melodious sound of the harp resounded endlessly. It was so melodious that people were intoxicated by it. Listening to the melodious sound of the harp, Xue Xinyue felt that her soul was lost, as if she was immersed in the beautiful sound of the harp. She couldn't free herself from it. She hurriedly bit the tip of her tongue and forced herself to wake up from the pain. Boundless sword art, boundless shadow slash. Xue Xinyue shouted and instantly merged with her spirit beast. A powerful shadow slash fell from the sky like a river flowing backward, slashing toward Bing Yuntong, who was playing the harp with both hands. 1. Just as Bing Yuntong was about to be struck by the boundless falling shadow slash, the unending sound of the zither suddenly turned sharp. It was as if a magnificent army was galloping, crushing everything in its path. It shattered the boundless falling shadow slash and bombarded her. Misty rise of the 9 heavens. Xue Xinyue had experienced the horror of the green water fairy melody. She had become a beast king within a short time, so she decisively changed her attack. She forcibly performed the martial art of the Misty Mountain. Endless misty power gushed out of her body and turned into a sharp sword light, as if it was going to cut the sky open. The sword light slashed at the zither music. However, because Xue Xinyue hadn't comprehended the Tao of sword yet, she couldn't use the full power of the misty rise of the 9 heavens. Boom! The two attacks clashed together and immediately burst out a series of explosive sounds. The loud sound was like thunder. It didn't stop for a long time, shaking the space violently. The two powerful attacks clashed for 3 breaths. Cracks appeared on the green water fairy melody played by Bing Yuntong. The sword light of the 9 heavens tore the harp apart bit by bit and slashed toward her. Wang! Looking at the Ling Ju's sword chi, Bing Yuntong's face was still expressionless. Her slender hands drew a series of afterimages as she quickly played the zither, increasing the power of the zither. The terrifying sound waves turned into a surging sea, shattering the Ling Ju's sword chi. Instant kill sword. Xue Xinyue didn't give up even though she performed her low-grade skill, Misty Rise of the 9 heavens, which still couldn't hurt Bing Yuntong. She merged with the long sword in her hand and slashed out a sword attack as fast as lightning, tearing apart the sound of the harp and approaching Bing Yuntong. It's over. You can die now. Seeing that Xue Xinyue dared to get close to her, Bing Yuntong's eyes were filled with killing intent. She suddenly pulled the strings of the zither with her long fingers. Waves of sound waves gushed out and attacked Xue Xinyue's body. She wanted to kill Xue Xinyue in one strike. Boom! When the jade water immortal melody collided with the instant kill sword, the powerful sound of the zither instantly shattered the instant kill sword and bombarded her lithe body. It's over. Seeing Xue Xinyue being hit by the green water fairy melody, Bing Qingchuan showed a gloomy smile. The green water fairy melody was a divine melody that had been passed down in the Ice Palace for tens of thousands of years. It was extremely powerful. Even a level 1 beast king couldn't withstand its full power, let alone Xue Xinyue. Puff! Being hit by the green water fairy melody, Xue Xinyue's body immediately released a large amount of lightning, which blocked 90% of the attack. However, the remaining 10% of the music still injured her. A mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth and sprayed onto the ground, staining it with blood. Extreme ice water. Xue Xinyue didn't care about her injuries. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of extremely cold spiritual water, attacking Bing Yuntong. Natural spiritual water. Bing Yuntong slightly raised her eyebrows. For the first time, her calm face showed a surprised expression. She was surprised by Xue Xinyue's defense and her trump card. As the extreme ice water approached, Bing Yuntong kept playing the harp, creating layers of sound wave. She didn't give the water a chance to get close to her. Misty Rise of the 9 heavens. While Bing Yuntong was playing the green water fairy melody to defend against the extreme ice water, Xue Xinyue performed her most powerful attack again. The sword light that could pierce through the 9 heavens slashed down, aiming at Bing Yuntong's head. Well done! Seeing Xue Xinyue taking the initiative with the help of the heavenly thunder armor and the extreme ice water, Xue Tianqi and the other elders of the Misty Mountain all had their eyes lit up. They were waiting for a miracle. Green water fairy melody. Kill. Even though she was in danger, Bing Yuntong was surprisingly calm. She played the zither again with her long fingers. The sound of the zither tore through the air and shattered Ling Jiutian's attack. The sound of the zither fiercely hit on Xue body. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out from Xue mouth. The green water fairy melody had blown her away like a kite with a broken string. She heavily fell off the stage and lost the match. For mobile users, please visit Chapter 421. What? She didn't die. Seeing Xue coughing out blood and struggling to stand up, Bing Qingchuan's smile froze. He couldn't believe what had just happened. Mid-grade heaven's armor. Bing Yuntong put the harp back into her Qiankuan ring. Looking at the lightning around Xue, her face turned gloomy. She had never thought that Xue would have a mid-grade heaven's armor. At the same time, the fortune energy inside Xuexinue's body and the fortune energy in the sky were attracted. They quickly entered Bing Yuntong's body and started to form the Tower of Fortune. In just 10 breaths, a huge amount of fortune energy had formed the second floor of the Tower of Fortune, floating above Bing Yuntong's head. Amazing! Bing Yuntong has actually formed 2 floors of the Tower of Fortune. She is indeed a top genius who has learned the green water fairy melody. Looking at the Tower of Fortune above Bing Yuntong's head, the audience was shocked by her strength. Such a top talent was rarely seen in 100 years. Xinue, well done. You didn't disgrace the Misty Mountain. Xue Tianqi looked at Xue Xinue, whose face was pale and bloodless. Xue Tianqi immediately fed her a dan bead and encouraged her in a low voice. If senior brother Yi didn't lend me the heavenly thunder armor, I would have died. After experiencing the power of the green water fairy melody, Xue Xinue finally realized how big the gap between her and Bing Yuntong was. She said sadly, "Failure is not scary. What is scary is losing your heart of martial arts." Looking at the sad Xue Xinue, Yi Chunfeng slowly said, "Besides, we have just started on the path of cultivation. As long as we follow our hearts and keep moving forward, we may be able to reach the peak of martial arts." Thank you, senior brother Yi. Xinue has learned a lot. Yi Chunfeng's words were like the evening drum and the morning bell. They shattered the haze in Xue Xinue's heart and strengthened her heart of martial arts. Her sad eyes were full of vigor again. As he spoke, Azure Ice Mountain appeared in the arena. His long black hair covered his eyes, and he exuded a strange aura. His opponent was Snake Valley's top genius, Mang Sen, a level 1 defiant beast king. I admit defeat. Although he was unwilling to admit defeat, Mang Sen could not summon any fighting spirit in the face of the unfathomable green ice mountain. He had no choice but to admit defeat in front of everyone. As expected, this Azure Ice Mountain is their most daring trump card. Seeing Mang Sen admit defeat on the spot, Yi Chunfeng muttered to himself. He was curious about the identity of Tsang Bingshan. Mang Sen admitted defeat. Wearing the blood demon battle armor, Xue Jinyan, who had swallowed a blood elixir, entered the arena. He was going to compete with Qian Wuxin, the top genius of the Qian family. With the help of the Blood King pellet, although Xue Jinyan had temporarily gained the strength of a peerless king, there was still a huge gap between him and Qian Wuxin. The two of them fought fiercely for half an hour. Qian Wu Xian gradually suppressed Xue Jinyan and forced him to retreat. 1. When Qian Wuxin forced Xue Jinyan to the edge of the arena, his complete blade aura gushed out of his body and turned into a shocking blade. It carried a shocking destructive power as it slashed toward Xue Jinyan. Puff! Xue Jinyan's defense was broken through. The complete blade aura landed on the blood demon battle armor. A huge amount of blood spurted out of Xue Jinyan's mouth as he fell out of the arena. He had lost the battle. Sigh. Jinyan lost as well. Seeing Xue Jinyan lose, Xue Tianqi sighed softly. He looked at the last hope of the Misty Mountain, Yi Chunfeng. Finally, it is my turn. Yi Chunfeng, who had been meditating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. Beams of light shot out from his deep pupils. Brother Yi, here is the heavenly thunder battle armor. Xue Xinyuan knew how powerful Yi Chunfeng was, so she gave the armor back to him. Qingfeng, do your best. You must win. Ji Qingxue and Bai Xiao were not clear about Yi Chunfeng's true strength, so they said nervously. They were afraid that something would happen to him. Don't worry. I can kill him like killing a dog. Yi Chunfeng slowly stood up and smiled confidently at the two girls. It was as if everything was under his control, which calmed the two girls down. Whoosh! Yi Chunfeng's body slightly moved. Like a flash of lightning, he appeared in the arena in the blink of an eye. Ziki, this is for you. If you can't beat him, use this to finish him. Bing Qingchuan, with a gloomy face and murderous eyes, stuffed a pitch-black bead into Bing Ziki's hand and said, "Okay." Bing Ziki nodded and put the black bead into his spatial ring. He summoned his soul wings and flew to the arena, bringing up gusts of hurricanes. Following that, a terrifying, ruthless, and brutal murderous aura was emitted from his body. It was like a ferocious beast that engulfed Yi Chunfeng. However, Yi Chunfeng was not affected in the slightest. He stood there like a boulder, and there was not the slightest change in his expression. What a terrifying aura! Bing Ziki's aura is actually on par with Jianchen's. How can the overall strength of this year's Ancient Sky City Martial Competition be so strong? The difference in strength is too big. I never thought that the number one force of the northern spiritual region, Misty Mountain, would be annihilated so soon. Seeing the tyrannical aura released by Bing Ziki fluctuating, dense water ripples appeared in the air. The entire stands let out waves of exclamations. Aside from the Misty Mountain, almost no one was optimistic about Yi Chunfeng. Xue Tianqi, I wonder what kind of expression you will have when you see your last hope being destroyed by Ziki's hands? Thinking about Bing Ziki's strength and the power of the black ball, Bing Qingchuan revealed a cold smile and waited for the match to begin. Begin. Following Xue Piaoling's order, the match began. Brat, obediently become a ghost under my hands. Bing Ziki roared as a terrifying cold qi leaked out from his body. It turned into a cold qi hand and slapped towards Yi Chunfeng with the force of Mount Tai. Just as Yi Chunfeng, who was standing proudly, was about to be hit by the cold hand, Yi Chunfeng's body suddenly blurred. He mysteriously disappeared from where he was, dodging the attack of the cold hand. Not good! Feeling the danger behind him, Bing Ziki's pupils shrank and instinctively wanted to dodge. However, Yi Chunfeng was faster. The power of the spirit pearl in his Shunmen acupoint erupted and instantly increased the strength of his arm to 3 million jin, firmly locking onto Bing Ziki's shoulder. In the next moment, the power of the spirit pearl in Yi Chunfeng's Yongquan acupoint erupted. His physical strength increased and instantly surpassed Bing Ziki's limit. With a beautiful shoulder throw, he ruthlessly threw Bing Ziki, who had completely lost control of his body, onto the ground. A terrifying vibration resounded in the arena, reverberating in the air for a long time. The spectator stands, which had been noisy just a moment ago, instantly became silent. Pairs of dumbfounded, shocked, and fearful gazes shot towards Yi Chunfeng, whose gaze was as sharp as a sword and as cold as ice. Chapter 422. You're too weak. Yi Chunfeng looked at Bing Ziki, who was lying on the ground with blood gushing out of his head. He didn't follow up with another attack. Instead, he looked at Bing Ziki coldly and mocked him. I'll definitely kill you. The proud and arrogant Bing Ziki had never suffered such humiliation before. He roared furiously. A toad the size of a calf, covered in lumps, and emitted a red light appeared on his body. It roared loudly at Yi Chunfeng. Myriad flowing cloud palm. The moment Bing Ziki fused with his spirit beast, he leaped high into the air and sent a palm strike at Yi Chunfeng. Rolling soul power instantly condensed into a huge palm print. It was like a galloping elephant, carrying astonishing destructive power as it bombarded Yi Chunfeng at close range. Bang! Yi Chunfeng quickly took a step forward and smashed his fist with 3 million jin of force. The explosive power in his fist directly shattered the myriad flowing cloud palm and bombarded Bing Ziqi's chest. What? Bing Ziqi didn't expect Yi Qinfeng's physical strength to be so terrifying. His heart tightened and he tried to dodge with a strange footwork. Ancient profound ice freeze. The moment he dodged, the power of the ancient profound ice passed through the ground and froze his feet, greatly slowing his dodging speed. Just as he was forcefully dispersing the ancient profound ice, Yi Qinfeng clenched his fist into a claw and grabbed his neck. He once again lifted him into the air and threw him over his shoulder, ruthlessly slamming him onto the ground. Boom! Bing Ziqi's body crashed to the ground again. The powerful impact caused cracks to appear on the surface of the arena. A large amount of blood flowed out of his head and body. Damn, is that Yi Qinfeng really only a level 6 Mystic Beast ancestor? He's too strong. A level 6 Mystic Beast ancestor can suppress a level 2 Reverse Beast King. I didn't expect Misty Mountain to have such a monstrous genius. It seems that it's still difficult for the major factions to surpass Misty Mountain's transcendent status. Despicable, despicable brat, where did he come from? Seeing Yi Qinfeng deliberately humiliating Bing Ziqi, Bing Qingchuan's face turned green with anger. He glared at Yi Qinfeng and gritted his teeth. Is that all you've got? It's really disappointing. Yi Qinfeng looked at Bing Ziqi, whose head was bleeding and cut a sorry figure. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he mocked coldly. Bloodline power burn. Bing Ziqi, who was dizzy from the fall, took a deep breath and suppressed the injuries on his body. He quickly got up from the ground and ignited his bloodline power, increasing his strength as much as possible. Holding a low-grade heaven item level cold crystal saber, he slashed towards Yi Qinfeng with a despairing power. Deathly Stillness Blade. With a slash of the saber, the white saber light cut through the sky. Layers of air were cut open by the saber, leaving a deep mark in the air. Facing Bing Ziqi's Deathly Stillness Blade, Yi Qinfeng still didn't use any soul skills or Dao skills. Instead, he blasted out a fist of flesh and blood. You're courting death. Bing Ziqi did not expect Yi Qinfeng to be so arrogant, using his own flesh and blood to block the deadly saber light from his low-grade heaven artifact. Dense killing intent shot out from Bing Ziqi's eyes as he worked hard to increase the power of his saber light. When the Deathly Stillness Blade slashed onto Yi Qinfeng's fist, it felt as if it had slashed onto black iron. It couldn't damage it at all. In the next moment, the power of the two spirit pearls in Yi Qinfeng's Shinmen and Yongquan acupoints erupted. 5 million gene of force instantly poured into his fist, crushing the Deathly Stillness Blade like breaking rotten wood. It blasted into the cold crystal saber, causing it to tremble. Feeling the surging power in the cold crystal saber, Bing Ziqi's palm spurted out a large amount of blood, and his entire arm became numb. While he was still in shock, Yi Qinfeng used form displacement shadow and instantly transformed into an afterimage. He flashed before Bing Ziqi's eyes and appeared behind him. Thump! Feeling that Yi Qinfeng had flashed behind him again, Bing Ziqi's heart suddenly jumped. He instantly condensed a pair of red soul wings and was about to fly into the air to dodge. Bing Ziqi's reaction could be said to be extremely fast, but Yi Qinfeng's speed was even faster. He grabbed Bing Ziqi's ankle, and with a burst of 5 million gene of force, he pulled Bing Ziqi back and fiercely threw him onto the stage. Then Yi Qinfeng grabbed his ankle and pulled him up again. Like throwing a sack, he threw him onto the stage for the second and third time. The terrifying impact caused the stage to be filled with cracks. A large amount of blood flowed out from his body and dyed the stage red. I'm going to kill you. When Yi Qinfeng threw Bing Ziqi 28 times in a row and almost destroyed his body, Bing Ziqi, who was on the verge of death and dizzy, used his final trump card. The seal in his body was undone, and a large amount of demonic qi gushed out from his bloody body. It quickly gathered into a slowly blooming black lotus filled with destructive power, and bombarded Yi Chunfeng like a meteor. Finally exposed, Yi Chunfeng's lips curled up slightly. He let go of the hand that was holding on to Bing Ziqi's ankle. Lightning flashed under his feet, and he dodged the attack of the Myriad Transformations Black Lotus. Myriad Transformations Black Lotus. Bing Qingchuan, why do you Ice Palace disciples know the inherited demonic arts of the Western Devil sect? Seeing that Yi Chunfeng had forced Bing Ziqi's secret out in front of everyone, Xue Tianqi and the other Misty Mountain experts all stood up. They angrily looked at the gloomy Bing Qingchuan and questioned him loudly. This is Ziqi's own opportunity. How would I know? The pale-faced Bing Qingchuan's heart trembled as he quibbled. Is that so? I wonder if anyone here believes his words? Xue Tianqi asked wisely, looking at everyone's reaction. Whether you believe it or not, Ziqi is indeed a disciple of my Ice Palace. As for why he knows the inherited demonic arts of the Western Devil sect, I don't know either. Bing Qingchuan braced himself and said. However, he was very angry in his heart. He had never thought that Bing Ziqi would be forced to reveal his secret by Yi Chunfeng, pushing them to the edge of a knife. Hearing Bing Qingchuan's explanation, Taoist Jian Ling completely believed that they were in cahoots with the Western Devil sect. The Sky Cloud sect, Qian family, and the other rank 6 sects had also noticed this. They looked at Bing Qingchuan with suspicion and hostility. All right, I can send you on your way now. Since he had achieved his goal of forcing Bing Ziqi to reveal his secret, Yi Chunfeng no longer held back. Lightning flashed under his feet, and he instantly appeared in front of Bing Ziqi. Soul-suppressing tablet. Yi Chunfeng punched out. 5 million gene of strength mixed with his powerful soul power, instantly forming a huge hand that was holding onto the soul-suppressing tablet. It brought along an unparalleled pressure as it ruthlessly smashed onto Bing Ziqi's chest. PFFF. Bing Ziqi, who was attacked by the soul-suppressing tablet at such a close distance, was heavily injured. His body's defense was immediately shattered, and his chest caved in. Large amounts of blood and internal organs spurted out of his mouth as his entire body flew into the air. Go to hell. With his body heavily injured, Bing Ziqi, who smelled the threat of death, took out the black pearl that Bing Qingchuan gave him. He wanted to borrow the power of this pearl to kill Yi Chunfeng. Sword Dao Pattern, Exterminate. Yi Chunfeng's soul spirit was extremely sharp. The moment Bing Ziqi took out the black pearl, a sword Dao pattern as fast as lightning shot out. Before Bing Ziqi could throw out the black pearl, the sword Dao pattern penetrated Yi Chunfeng's head with extreme sharpness. Boom! The black pearl immediately exploded. The powerful explosive force directly blew up his body, killing him on the spot. Bing Ziqi died, and the Tower of Providence that he condensed immediately shattered. A large amount of power of Providence, and the power of Providence surged into Yi Chunfeng's body crazily. In less than 5 breaths, Yi Chunfeng condensed 2 levels of the Tower of Providence, and his powerful strength shocked everyone. Mobile users, please visit Chapter 423. Bing Qingchuan, the ancient Sky City martial competition forbids the use of this kind of extermination pearl. Your Ice Palace actually broke the ancient rule. Do you believe that I won't take away your right to continue the competition? Xue Piaoling glared at Bing Qingchuan and criticized him without any trace of politeness. Using the extermination pearl is his own action. What does it have to do with my Ice Palace? Bing Qingchuan snorted coldly. Not even in his dreams would he have thought that the situation would turn out to be completely different from what he had imagined. Misty Mountain's last hope, Yi Chunfeng, not only did not die, but also forced Bing Ziqi to reveal his secret, which aroused the suspicion of all the major powers. Furthermore, Xue Piaoling had seized the opportunity to push him to the edge of the wave. Bing Qingchuan, I realize that you're living like a dog at your age. You're actually pushing all the blame onto a dead person. If I were you, I would have killed myself long ago to save myself from being a disgrace. Xue Qinglan, who had a death feud with the Ice Palace, would not let go of any chance to attack Bing Qingchuan. He stood up and mocked in a deep voice, which made Bing Qingchuan so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Bing Qingchuan, do you dare to swear that you didn't know about this matter? Xue Piaoling also did not want to let him go so easily. She said aggressively, "If you dare to swear by the heavenly Tao, I will believe you. If you don't, then don't blame me for taking away your right to continue the competition. I think no one has any objections, right?" Bing Qingchuan did not expect Xue Piaoling to be so ruthless, forcing him to swear by the heavenly Tao. His face twisted in anger. Cultivators paid great attention to swearing by the heavenly Tao. Once violated, not only would it affect one's luck, it would also affect one's martial path. In serious cases, one would be directly killed by the heavenly Tao. But thinking that Bing Ziki had just revealed his secret and aroused the suspicion of all the major powers, if he refused again, Xue Piaoling would seize the opportunity to take away his right to participate in the Ice Palace martial competition, which would directly affect the Western Devil Sect's plan. Just as he was hesitating, Bing Tsongshan, whose eyes were hidden in his hair, used a commanding tone to order him, "What are you still hesitating for? Hurry up and swear. If that woman uses this opportunity to take away your qualifications for the Ice Palace martial competition, I will not forgive you." "Fine, I swear." Hearing Tsang Bingshan's order, Bing Qingchuan became even more furious. However, he didn't dare to show it. He braced himself and swore an oath in front of everyone, resolving the Ice Palace's crisis. "Bing Qingchuan, I really admire you. You clearly knew the truth, but you still dared to swear on the heavenly Tao. However, I will give you a word of advice. Retribution is not pleasant. People like you will suffer retribution sooner or later." Xue Qinglan continued to mock Bing Qingchuan, whose face was ashen. Bing Qingchuan was so angry that his whole body trembled. He clenched his teeth and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "Old man, I'll let you be arrogant for a while longer. When your misty mountain is annihilated, I'll definitely torture you to death. I'll press Piao Ling on my body and let you know how powerful I am." Bing Qingchuan swore angrily in his heart. After Yi Chunfeng killed Bing Ziki in his most tyrannical manner, the battle continued. Because the Ice Palace and Snake Valley's target was the Misty Mountain, they didn't go all out against the other forces. However, the battles between the top geniuses were still very exciting. This was especially true for Mang Feng, who had been hiding in the Snake Valley. His true identity was suspected to be a top genius of the Western Demon Sect. He had displayed absolute strength, and with an overwhelming advantage, he had defeated the number 1 disciple of the Flowing Cloud sect, Lu Fenghen, who was a level 1 Beast King. Alright, the first day of the competition has ended. Everyone can find a place to stay in Ancient Sky City. The final battle will begin tomorrow morning. After the afternoon battle, Xue Piaoling, who was flying in the air, announced the end of the day's competition. "Let's go and find a place to rest." As they spoke, the group of people from the Misty Mountain left the battle arena and went to an old house to rest. "Yi Chunfeng, how confident are you in killing that Song Bingshan?" Xue Tianyang was Xue Qinglan's hope. His death was a huge blow to Xue Qinglan. In order to kill him and avenge Xue Tianyang, Xue Qinglan abandoned their previous enmity and asked Yi Chunfeng, "I only have a 60% chance of killing him, but a 90% chance of defeating him." Although Yi Chunfeng was confident in his own strength, Yi Chunfeng had a feeling that Song Bingshan was not simple. Without using his spirit beast, Yi Chunfeng didn't have 100% confidence in killing him. "Yi Chunfeng, if you can kill him and avenge Tianyang, you can ask I to do anything for you. As for this stone inscription, consider it a reward from I in advance." As Xue Qinglan spoke, She took out a jade box sealed with a large number of runes from her universe ring and handed it to Yi Chunfeng. Senior, what stone inscription is this? When Yi Chunfeng opened the seal on the jade box, he saw a seemingly ordinary stone inscription with a large number of ancient runes engraved on its surface. It was completely black and lusterless. I obtained this stone inscription 100 years ago in the ethereal wonderland. However, this stone inscription may not be fated with me. I have studied it for 100 years, but I still haven't figured it out. However, things that come out of the ethereal wonderland are not simple. If you have time, you can study it. Perhaps with your talent, you can unravel its secrets. Xue Qinglan didn't hide anything. A stone inscription from the ethereal wonderland. Yi Chunfeng had learned from Xue Piaoling that Ethereal Mountain had 3 major restrictions. Among them, the ethereal wonderland was the most mysterious. Its origin was suspected to be related to the Qian domain. It would only open once every 100 years and was the foundation of Ethereal Mountain. Thank you, Senior. I will study it now. After learning the origin of this stone inscription, Yi Chunfeng's eyes suddenly lit up. He couldn't wait to use the power of the God-Eater brain to study the hidden secrets of this stone inscription. Formation Runes Seal. Yi Chunfeng came to a quiet stone room and set up dozens of formation runes to seal the entire stone room. He took out the mysterious stone inscription and controlled the power of the God-Eater brain to penetrate into the stone inscription to deduce the truth of this stone inscription. Time passed by slowly. Under the God-Eater brain's deduction, Yi Chunfeng felt a vast Tao insight from this stone inscription. It made him feel as though he was facing the heavens. His entire heart trembled. What Tao insight is this? How can it be so terrifying? Yi Chunfeng gulped. His calm face was filled with shock. A trace of dizziness appeared in his mind. He had a feeling that the Tao insight contained in this stone inscription surpassed the 4 Tao insights that he had comprehended. Unfortunately, the Tao insight contained in this stone inscription wasn't complete. This was also the reason why Xue Qinglan didn't gain anything after comprehending for 100 years. God-Eater brain, forcibly imprint. Although the Tao insight in the stone inscription wasn't complete, Yi Chunfeng still controlled the God-Eater brain to forcibly imprint the multiplying runes on the God-Eater brain. Crack! When the God-Eater brain imprinted the last multiplying rune on the stone inscription, this mysterious stone inscription suddenly shattered and turned into powder. At this time, a night had passed. What Tao insight is this? Looking at the powder of the stone inscription that slipped through his fingers, Yi Chunfeng's head was severely dizzy. His face was extremely pale as he muttered to himself. Although Yi Chunfeng hadn't comprehended the Tao insight of the stone inscription, his aura had undergone a subtle change during the process of the God-Eater brain imprinting the mysterious runes. Yi Chunfeng was filled with curiosity about this mysterious and vast Tao insight that surpassed the 4 Tao insights of Sword Principle and the other 3 Tao insight. For mobile users, please visit Chapter 424. Early in the morning, the gentle rays of the morning sun shone through the misty clouds, waking up this ancient city with a long history. Qingfeng, your aura is a bit different. Did you comprehend something from that stone carving? When Yi Chunfeng left the stone room to regroup with the others, Xue Tianqi, who was a level 6 beast king, felt that Yi Chunfeng's aura had changed slightly. It had become vast and boundless, so he asked in surprise. The Tao intent in that stone carving was incomplete, but after one night of comprehension, I still gained something. Yi Chunfeng nodded and said. Hearing Yi Chunfeng's words, Xue Qinglan, who had gained nothing after 100 years of comprehension, felt a huge wave of emotions in his heart. The way he looked at Yi Chunfeng had changed greatly. He didn't know what words to use to describe Yi Chunfeng. He felt that genius and monstrous were no longer enough to describe Yi Chunfeng's true terror. Xue Xinyue, Xue Jinyan, and the other Misty Peak geniuses were also completely convinced by Yi Chunfeng's heaven-defying talent. They looked at him with respect and admiration. Sigh, the gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. Seeing Yi Chunfeng's shocking talent, the two girls sighed softly. They knew that no matter how hard they worked, they would never be able to catch up to Yi Chunfeng in this lifetime. Qing Feng, your talent is the most terrifying I have ever seen. Perhaps you can really control the fate of Misty Mountain. Xue Tianqi revealed a trace of an approving smile and said slowly. His uneasy heart calmed down a bit. Qing Feng, today it all depends on your performance. You have to crush the West Devil Sex scheme. The tall and elegant Xue Piaoling slowly walked over and said, Don't worry. They will lose for sure. Yi Chunfeng nodded and said confidently, Let's go. Let's go to the arena. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng and the others left the mansion and arrived at the arena where the power of providence was extremely rich. When all the sects had arrived and the stands were full of disciples, Xue Piaoling immediately arranged for the disciples who would enter the third round to draw lots. Because there were 7 people who had advanced to the third round, one of them was bound to get a bye. After drawing lots, Mang Feng, who was hidden in the Snake Valley and suspected to be a peak-level genius of the Western Devil sect, was lucky enough to draw the vacant lot, directly advancing to the final 4. Yi Chunfeng drew lot number 1. His opponent was the extremely talented Bing Yuntong, who had comprehended the Jade Water Immortal Melody and defeated Xue Xinyu. Songbing Shan drew lot number 2. His opponent was the top genius of the Qian family, Qian Wuxin, who had comprehended saber momentum to perfection. Jian Chen drew lot number 3. His opponent was the number 1 genius of the Ice Palace, Polar Ice Sea, a rank 1 defiant beast king. Senior brother Yi, do your best. Take revenge for me. Xue Xinyue, who was wearing a white martial robe and had fair skin, but her body was still extremely weak, showed a charming smile. She clenched her fists and cheered Yi Chunfeng softly. Yeah, she's dead for sure. Although Bing Yuntong was extremely beautiful, Yi Chunfeng was never merciful to his enemies. He wouldn't spare her life just because of her appearance. Yuntong, I'm afraid you're not his opponent. If you really can't, just admit defeat. After seeing how Yi Chunfeng easily killed Bing Ziki, Bing Qingchuan knew that Bing Yuntong was definitely not his opponent. He was afraid that something would happen to her, so he said seriously, Head Elder, I want to try. If the strongest attack of the Jade Water Immortal Melody can't defeat him, I'll admit defeat immediately. Moreover, it won't be easy for him to kill me. Bing Yuntong was also a prideful person. She didn't want to admit defeat directly, so she bit her alluring lips and said, All right, be careful. Bing Qingchuan took a deep breath and said, No matter what, you can't let anything happen to you. Yeah. Bing Yuntong nodded. Holding the harp, which was made of special materials and was a low-grade heaven artifact, she leaped onto the stage and looked at Yi Chunfeng from afar. Looking at Yi Chunfeng's eyes, Bing Yuntong's delicate face couldn't help but show a trace of seriousness. In Yi Chunfeng's eyes, other than the sharpness, she also caught a feeling that everything in the world was under his control. A trace of fear appeared in her heart. Ready, let the match begin. As soon as Xue Piaoling finished speaking, Bing Yuntong's slender fingers quickly plucked the strings of the harp. A large amount of sorrowful music, accompanied by an illusory power, bombarded Yi Chunfeng. Facing the attack of Bing Yuntong's celestial jade water melody, Yi Chunfeng felt a faint sadness from the depths of his heart. But in the next moment, a crisscrossing illusion Dao pattern appeared in Yi Chunfeng's deep eyes. It destroyed all the illusions and illusions. It destroyed the illusory power of the celestial jade water melody. It resisted the powerful sound wave attack, and took a step forward. Bang! The power of the spiritual pearl in his Yongquan acupoint exploded. A powerful force made a buzzing sound as he stepped on the stage. He destroyed the immortal sound wave attack with a single step and brought a huge pressure to Bing Yuntong. Seeing Yi Chunfeng destroy the sound wave attack with a single step, Bing Yuntong's face slightly changed. Her hands that were playing the harp transformed into a series of afterimages. The sound of the harp changed. The clanging of the harp was like an army with golden spears and golden horses. It carried a despairing killing power as it bombarded towards Yi Chen-feng. Bang! Feeling that the might of the celestial jade water melody had increased by more than 3 times, Yi Chen-feng increased his physical strength to 5 million jin and took a second step forward. A powerful force formed under his feet. It was like a dense water ripple. It fluctuated in all directions and bombarded the sound wave attack. It exploded once again and shook Bing Yuntong's blood and qi to the point where it was in turmoil. What, seeing Yi Chen-feng take 2 steps and destroy the celestial jade water melody that had been passed down for tens of thousands of years, Bing Qingchuan was so shocked that his eyes widened. His eyeballs were about to fall out. Bing Yuntong's heart was also filled with shock. She forcefully suppressed the surging blood and qi in her body. She stabilized her state of mind and used the strongest killing move of the celestial jade water melody. Celestial jade water melody, absolute kill. Bing Yuntong poured all of her soul power into the harp and activated the harp's strongest power. Her slender fingers pulled the strings to the limit and played the absolute kill sound. It bombarded towards the slowly approaching Yi Chen-feng. Tai sword art. When the absolute kill sound came, Yi Chen-feng didn't show any mercy. He used the supreme grade heaven skill that he comprehended in the Death Valley. A sword Dao pattern shot out from his body and turned into a powerful Tai sword light. It cut through all obstacles and created a long and narrow sword mark in the void. It tore through the deadly zither music with a tremendous force and pierced towards Bing Yuntong, whose pupils had shrunk and her face had turned pale. She was forced to dodge in a hurry. Sword Dao pattern. He comprehended the sword Dao. Seeing the Tai sword light formed by the sword Dao pattern, Bing Qingchuan's face changed. He quickly shouted, "Stop! My ice valley admits defeat." However, Yi Chen-feng didn't care about Bing Qingchuan's shout. He used the form-shifting phantom and appeared beside Bing Yuntong, whose face had turned pale. He once again burst out with 2.5 million jin of strength and blasted the soul-suppressing monument at her body. Bang! Bing Yuntong was sent flying by Yi Chen-feng's punch. The surging 2.5 million jin of strength directly shattered her body's defense and blasted into her body. No! Bing Yuntong, who had lost control of her body, cried out in pain. Her body couldn't withstand the 2.5 million jin of strength and directly exploded. She turned into minced meat and died on the spot. After forcefully killing Bing Yuntong, a large amount of fortune power crazily poured into Yi Chen-feng's body. After fusing with a large amount of fortune power, the Tower of Fortune floating above Yi Chen-feng's head condensed to 3.5 floors. The powerful fortune power constantly cleansed his body. The scene of him forcefully killing Bing Yuntong once again shocked all the major forces. It made Jian Chun and Bing Tsongshan's eyes burn with an intense battle intent. Sword Dao. This ancient city martial competition is getting more and more interesting. The corner of Bing Tsongshan's mouth slightly rose, revealing a trace of killing intent that was hard to detect. He couldn't wait to fight with Yi Chen-feng and personally kill him. For mobile users, please visit Chapter 425. Yi Chen-feng, my ice palace has already admitted defeat. Why are you still trying to kill us? Bing Qingchuan roared as he watched Bing Yuntong's body explode from Yi Chen-feng's attack. His eyes were bloodshot, and his white hair fluttered in the wind. He glared at Yi Chen-feng and roared, "Did your ice palace admit defeat?" Yi Chen-feng looked at the furious Bing Qingchuan and said indifferently, "Why didn't I hear it?" Looking at Yi Chen-feng's calm face and hearing his answer, Bing Qingchuan's old face twisted in anger. Blue veins popped out on his forehead as his whole body trembled. "If your ice palace can't afford to lose, you can back out. But if you insist, you will die." Looking at the furious Bing Qingchuan, Yi Chen-feng said coldly, Then, Yi Chunfeng ignored Bing Qingchuan, who was about to go crazy. With a leap, he crossed hundreds of meters and returned to the stands. You don't have to be so angry with a dead man. Bing Qingchuan looked at the trembling Bing Qingchuan and said coldly. In his eyes, Yi Chunfeng was still a dead man in his hands. After he finished speaking, he slowly stood up and transformed into an afterimage, instantly appearing on the martial arts stage. When Bing Qingchuan appeared on the stage, the number one genius of the Qian family, Qian Wuxin, who had cultivated his blade aura to perfection, landed on the stage like a battle blade. His powerful blade aura directly split the air. This Bing Qingchuan is terrifying, and this Qian Wuxin's aura is not weaker than his. Looks like this will be a fierce battle between a dragon and a tiger. How exciting! Looking at the two tall and powerful men, the atmosphere in the stands became heated. Everyone was looking forward to the fierce battle between the two. If you can block one of my attacks, you win. Bing Qingchuan raised his head slightly, revealing his eyes brighter than the stars. Looking at the tall and burly Qian Wuxin, whose long black hair danced in the wind, he said arrogantly. Hearing Bing Qingchuan's arrogant words, Qian Wuxin frowned slightly. The murderous aura in his eyes intensified, and the anger on his face was undisguised. Hearing Bing Qingchuan's arrogant words, the audience in the stands became even more rowdy. Who was Qian Wuxin? He was a peerless genius of the Qian family, a rank 6 force. He had comprehended his blade aura to perfection and had the ability to kill opponents above his level. However, such a powerful expert, who had the strength to enter the top 4, had been looked down upon by Azure Ice Mountain, who had even arrogantly declared that he would defeat him in one move. This Bing Qingchuan is so strong. Bai Wei, who was wearing a white martial arts suit, had a graceful figure and beautiful curves. His long, snow-white legs were faintly discernible under the martial arts suit. He had an elegant temperament and said with a look of surprise, "This Bing Qingchuan is the final trump card of the West Demon Sect. His strength is far beyond Bing Ziqi's. If I'm not wrong, this Bing Qingchuan's strength should be beyond a rank 2 Beast King. His true strength should be at least a rank 4 Beast King or higher." Yi Chunfeng's deep eyes shone as he locked on to the unfathomable Bing Qingchuan. This Bing Qingchuan is so strong. Bai Wei's delicate face changed slightly. She said with some trepidation, "Qingfeng, with your strength, can you defeat this Bing Qingchuan?" "Yes." Yi Chunfeng nodded. His cold face revealed a trace of confidence that made Bai Wei feel at ease. "Bing Qingchuan, I will make you pay for your arrogance today," Qian Wuxin said in a low voice. His battle intent was rising. A lion covered in golden fur appeared in front of him and roared at the sky, shaking the entire area. "Let's talk about it after you block one of my attacks." Bing Qingchuan smiled arrogantly. A large amount of soul power quickly gathered. He was waiting for the battle to begin so he could kill Qian Wuxin. "Begin!" With Xue Piaoling's command, the second battle began. Boom! The moment the battle began, Bing Qingchuan's body exploded with a tsunami-like aura. It shook the space and bombarded Qian Wuxin. Qian Wuxin's face changed slightly as he felt Bing Qingchuan's aura. His aura weakened slightly. Water Dragon Sky Destruction. Bing Qingchuan took the opportunity to attack. He used the Ice Palace's low-grade Dao technique. The soul power gathered in his body gushed out and turned into a 100-meter-long water dragon. It roared at the sky and carried a shocking destructive power as it bombarded Qian Wuxin. Blue Ice Mountain's water dragon Sky Splitter was extremely powerful. Wherever the water dragon passed, the air was riddled with holes. It was as if space itself had been shattered by this attack. Complete Blade Aura Heavenly Kill. Qian Wuxin's face changed slightly as he felt the destructive power of the water dragon Sky Destruction. His body fused with the low-grade celestial weapon in his hand as he used his strongest attack. The heavenly killing saber light, which was more than 10 meters long and surrounded by perfect saber momentum, slashed down horizontally. The powerful saber power was unstoppable as it slashed down on the water dragon that was more than 100 meters long. Boom, 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 a series of loud explosions rang out. The powerful sound caused the eardrums of many spectators to tremble. The two powerful soul skills clashed for 2 breaths. Qian Wuxin's heavenly kill blade aura began to crack, while Bing Qingchuan's water dragon sky destruction continued to press forward. Roar. As the water dragon roared, Qian Wuxin's sky-killing blade light was shattered. The destructive power of the water dragon sky break smashed onto Qian Wuxin's body. Qian Wuxin didn't have time to dodge, and was swallowed by the water dragon sky break. Qian Wuxin spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was heavily injured by the remaining power of the water dragon sky destruction. The destructive power of the water dragon sky destruction rushed into his body, destroying his flesh and destroying his life force. Purring! The bloody Qian Wuxin was sent flying out of the arena by the remaining power of the water dragon sky destruction. He slammed into the energy barrier and lost the mat. So strong. That Bing Qingchuan really defeated Qian Wuxin in one move. How can he be so strong? He's too strong. Even Yi Chunfeng and Jian Chen aren't as strong as him. It seems like he has a high chance of winning this tournament. Witnessing the scene in front of them, everyone present was stunned by Cang Bingshan's strength. The entire martial field became silent. Jian Chen, this Bing Qingchuan's cultivation level should be higher than yours. Are you sure you can defeat him? Daoist Jian Ling looked at the arrogant and unfathomable Bing Qingchuan and asked with a serious expression. Both the Grey Ice Mountain and Yi Chunfeng are very strong. However, I've been sharpening my sword for 10 years just for this battle. I can't lose, Jian Chen said calmly, making it impossible for others to guess what he was thinking. With that, Jian Chen slowly stood up. Like an unsheathed sword, he leapt onto the stage and appeared before Cang Bingshan, who was receiving the power of providence. When the two of them looked at each other, invisible sparks were stirred up. Remember URL. Sanwu Chinese Network. Chapter 426. The third match, Jian Chen vs. Polar Ice Sea. Xue Piaoling loudly announced as he looked at the two who were not backing down. I admit defeat. Looking at Jian Chen, who was like an unsheathed sword, Polar Ice Sea thought of his ruthless methods and tightly clenched his fists. Under Bing Qingchuan's persuasion, he admitted defeat in humiliation. After losing the polar ice fusion, his tower of fortune immediately collapsed. A large amount of fortune power poured into Jian Chen's body, helping him condense a tower of fortune with the same number of floors as Yi Chunfeng and Cang Bingshan. Polar Sea, a temporary loss is nothing. Wait until we help the Western Demon Sect destroy Misty Mountain. My ice palace will be the overlord of the Northern Spirit region. At that time, whatever cultivation resources you want, I will satisfy you. Looking at the gloomy and unwilling Polar Ice Sea, Bing Qingchuan tried to persuade him. Jian Chen, sooner or later, I will kill you and wash away my shame. Polar Ice Sea secretly swore in his heart. After losing the polar ice fusion, the top 4 of the ancient Sky City Martial Meeting were born. They were Yi Chunfeng, Jian Chen, Cang Bingshan, and Mang Feng. After drawing lots, Jian Chen drew lot number 1, Mang Feng drew lot number 2, Cang Bingshan drew lot number 3, and Yi Chunfeng drew lot number 4. After drawing lots, Yi Chunfeng's face was expressionless, making it impossible for others to guess his true thoughts. Without any hesitation, he jumped several hundred meters and returned to the stands. Yi Chunfeng, your good luck ends here. I will personally destroy Misty Mountain and send you all to hell. Looking at Yi Chunfeng's departing figure, Cang Bingshan's eyes hidden in his hair emitted a thick killing intent. He stared at Yi Chunfeng as if he was looking at a prey. The morning matches have ended. 4 hours later, the round-robin matches will begin in the afternoon to decide the final champion. Shui Piaoling loudly announced, ending the morning's matches. Because of the absolute strength displayed by Yi Qinfeng, Jian Chen, and Song Bingshan, this year's Ancient Sky City Martial Meet was unprecedentedly intense and exciting. While waiting for the round robin of the top four, the disciples of the various major powers were excitedly guessing who the champion would be. After defeating Gan Wuxin in one move, Song Bingshan's astonishing strength was favored by the majority of the audience. Jian Chen's support rate was second only to his, and Yi Qinfeng's support rate was third. Meng Feng, who had advanced without a fight, was not favored by anyone to be the final champion. Qingfeng, although the battle in the afternoon is important, your life is more important. If you can't win, don't force yourself, Shui Piaoling said solemnly. After witnessing the terrifying strength of the Blue Ice Mountain, he couldn't help but get up from his seat for the afternoon competition. Don't worry, Sister Piaoling. He will definitely lose. Yi Qinfeng had a confident smile on his face, but he wasn't sure if he could kill Song Bingshan. Time flew by and 4 hours passed in a flash. After 4 hours, Jian Chen and Meng Feng opened their eyes at the same time. They condensed their soul wings and flew towards the martial arena. The spectators' stand, which was noisy just now, instantly became silent. Everyone's gaze was completely attracted by the two of them. Jian Chen, let me see if your title as the number 1 disciple of the Sword Valley is undeserved. Meng Feng held a 9-foot 9-inch-long spear with a white snake coiling around it. It was a low-grade heaven-tier spear. He pointed it at the indifferent Jian Chen with a domineering aura. Could it be that all trash talk so much? Jian Chen hugged the 8-fiend sword and coldly looked at Meng Feng. He said without a trace of emotion. After saying that, a fierce aura that could shock the heavens and earth gushed out from Jian Chen's body. In an instant, his entire aura underwent a huge change. It became terrifying and filled with killing intent. This caused Meng Feng's expression to change slightly. Bloodline power ignite. Feeling that Jian Chen was more terrifying than he had imagined, Meng Feng didn't hesitate to ignite his bloodline power. A sturdy body covered in black fur and a sinister expression appeared on his body, increasing his strength to the greatest extent. Let the battle begin. Looking at the two people facing each other, Shui Piaoling didn't waste any time and immediately announced the start of the battle. Go to hell, Serpent Spear! Meng Feng roared. His surging soul power poured into the serpent spear in his hand. The sharp spear light transformed into a ferocious python, bringing along a shocking destructive force as it stabbed towards Jian Chen. Facing Meng Feng's serpent spear attack, the 8-fiend's sword in Jian Chen's hand let out an ear-piercing sound. An arc of lightning shot out, piercing through the layers of air, and stabbed the serpent spear. Gotcha! The two people's probing attacks collided and shattered at the same time. However, Jian Chen didn't use any soul skill in that attack. It was just a casual stab, while Meng Feng had ignited his bloodline power and used a soul skill. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker with a single glance. Whoosh! After that attack, Jian Chen moved. His entire body turned into an extremely sharp afterimage. Like a hurricane that swept through the heavens and earth, he swept towards Meng Feng and launched a fierce attack, instantly suppressing Meng Feng's attack. Wind Dao Intent. This Jian Chen is using the Wind Dao Intent. Looking at the wind shadow that Jian Chen had transformed into, Shui Tianqi's eyes widened. He was shocked that Jian Chen had comprehended the profound Wind Dao Intent at such a young age. Chi. Jian Chen used the Wind Dao Intent. After a round of ferocious attacks, Meng Feng's defenses were constantly broken through. His entire body was covered with crisscrossing cracks, and a large amount of blood seeped out, dyeing his clothes red. World of Serpent Shadows. With his attack completely suppressed, Meng Feng, who was in a perilous situation, let out a roar. The spear he stabbed out transformed into a sky full of spiritual snakes. They swam in the void and launched a counterattack towards Jian Chen. Wind Dao intent, sky-splitting astral winds. Jian Chen's pupils shrank. 3 wind Dao patterns flew out of his body and transformed into 3 astral wind oars that connected the heavens and the earth. They directly tore apart Mang Feng's world of serpent shadows and chopped towards his body with extreme speed. What Dao intent? Mang Feng didn't think that his ultimate move would be broken so easily. His expression changed and he wanted to dodge. However, Jian Chen's sky-splitting astral winds was too fast. It was several times faster than the speed of light. Although he used his movement skill to dodge 2 of the astral wind oars, he was still struck by the last wind Dao pattern that tore through the air. He violently spat out a mouthful of blood. A small crack appeared on his low-grade heaven-tier armor as he was sent flying. Die! After heavily injuring Mang Feng with 1 strike, Jian Chen didn't slow down his attack. His entire body turned into a sword light as he wanted to end Mang Feng's life and end the battle. With his life hanging by a thread, Mang Feng had no choice but to reveal his secret. He quickly undid the seal on his body and released a large amount of demonic qi as a last resort. Myriad transformations Black Lotus. Mang Feng roared. The demonic qi that gushed out from his body quickly gathered into a demonic black lotus of destruction. It struck towards Jian Chen at close range, trying to force him back. There is something wrong with this ice palace and serpent valley. Looking at Mang Feng's myriad transformations Black Lotus, the experts from the Flowing Cloud sect, Qian family, and other forces confirmed their guesses. These 2 forces were most likely related to the Western Demon sect. They also understood why the Misty Mountain and the other 2 forces were like fire and water, showing no mercy. However, when they saw that the Misty Mountain didn't do anything drastic, they suppressed the anger in their hearts and waited for the situation to develop. Dao pattern of the sword, blood splashing sword. Facing the attack of the myriad transformations Black Lotus, Jian Chen didn't slow down his attack. As the 3 Dao patterns of the sword shot out from his body, his attack power rose steadily. The astonishing sword seemed to tear through space. The sword pierced through the myriad transformations Black Lotus and accurately stabbed into Mang Feng's forehead. Bang! Mang Feng's head exploded like a watermelon. A large amount of blood and flesh splattered all over the ground. His sturdy body heavily fell to the ground as he lost his life. After killing Mang Feng, the surging power of fortune crazily surged into Jian Chen's body. Soon, the Tower of Fortune above Jian Chen's head condensed to the 5th floor. After killing Mang Feng, Jian Chen's sharp gaze swept past the ashen-faced Mang Hanch and the others. Without any hesitation, he summoned his soul wings and flew back to the spectators' stand, waiting for the peak battle between Yi Chunfeng and the Gray Ice Mountain. For mobile users, please visit //Mpiatia, remember the URL. Sanwa Chinese Network.